Welcome to the Men's Collective podcast. In this space, we keep the conversations real, inspiring, and challenging you to become the man you are destined to be. Your family needs you to be better. Your friends need you to be better. We need you to be better. We are your hosts, the Average Joes. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Men's Collective podcast. We're the Average Joes, and this is the place for real men with some real talk. Wayne Taylor here, and again today I've got some of the lads joining me, which you will all hear from very soon. Before we dive in, if you're getting value from what we're doing here at Average Joes and you want to be part of the movement, head over to www.averagejoes.net.au, grab a shirt, pick up some merch, and show your support. If you want to catch up on all of our content, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review for our content, which helps us grow this very audience. Massive thanks to our sponsors for helping us make these real conversations happen. If you're a business or individual interested in partnering with us and getting your brand out there too, hit us up. We'd love to talk to you. Now, we have a huge announcement. Get ready. You're going to love what we are about to say. Australia Day next year, 2025, Average Joes will be releasing its very own beer. Miguel, I'm sure you're happy about that.
Mate, as long as I get to be in charge of quality control and do all the taste testing, I can't see there an issue.
January 26, 2025, you will see Average Joe's beer on tap and in cans. This has been a very long, drawn-out dream of ours, especially since this whole movement itself started with myself and a good mate having a beer together 6 years ago, which I'm sure many of you may know the story already. If not, hit up the website and you can see where it all began and what it's grown into what you see today. So to be able to launch our own beer, absolutely exciting here at Average Joe's, and I can guarantee you, you are going to love it. There's more on that to come. Now, today's topic is what I'm calling struggle to strength. We've all got a story, but here's the thing. Those struggles and challenges we've gone through as men don't define us unless we let them define us. The real question is, what do we do in those times to get out and get through? Do we let them break us, or do we rise up and let them become stronger, better men? To help me break down this today, I have a regular that you all know too well, the interrupter as we like to call him. It's the Maltese Terrier himself, the man that can't get past 3 words without one of them being the F word. Miguel, good to see you, bro.
How the flipping hell are you, Wayne? It's actually Maltese. So Wayne's pretty illiterate. It says Maltese mongrel. You know, Dad's Maltese, Mum's Aussie. So it's the Maltese mongrel breed.
You know how long it
What
took
a
me to
fucking
write?
Maltese Terrier, mate. Little fluffy piece of shit. Jesus.
And sticking to true form. There he is. Look, another guy joined us is someone that you've met before on part 1 of Fathering Together episode. And the reason behind having him on today, as I'm sure you hear more about it, is because he himself at the age of 17 has his own story that's inspired me and continues to inspire me, as I'm sure it will you too. Samuel, my son, welcome back, buddy.
It feels weird to be back.
It's good to have you back. Just behave and go to your room. But look, another special guest that I have joining us today is a guy whose story I first heard about 4 or 5 years ago, and somehow knew that this day would come when this platform here at Average Joe's would be a place for him to share it. And that is Mr. Craig Humble. Welcome, buddy.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, good to be part of the podcast and what you're doing. It's inspiring to see what you're doing, mate.
Thanks, buddy. Awesome. And look, your story's been inspiring, and I'm sure will inspire many that hear it too. So we're glad to have you here, buddy. It's a bit of an honour for us too, mate. Yeah. So, gents, look, what I want to know is, can you think back to a time in your life when you were going through a hard struggle? How did it shape you as a man? How did you use that pain to build strength, to become more resilient and more focused? Too often we think challenging times are something we need to avoid, when in reality, it's one of the best tools for growth. The trials we face shape who we are, and our ability to overcome them is what sets us apart. How much of strength have you today come from the hardest times in your life? How can you, as men, help other men with those struggles and to empower them? So look, stick with us, fellas, because by the end of this episode, you might just have a whole new perspective on how to use life struggles to fuel your strength and success. Let's get into it. Craig, mate, I would love to hear your story. Take your time. Tell us from start to finish, the Craig that was growing up, the Craig from just a few short years ago, to the Craig we have today. Mate, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Start with Baby Craig. I think that's a weird concept, isn't it? Baby Craig.
Baby, apparently. Don't call it Baby Craig. Tell us about Baby Craig, mate.
Mate, grew up in a pretty normal house, eh? my dad was a police officer for the first part of my life. So I remember him bringing police cars home, and he had the cool cars back then, XU1, Valiant, Charger, GT, you know, all the
good
cool
stuff.
police
Good
cars,
cars.
you know.
Absolutely.
Bit of
Not,
muscle.
not like these the gay Corolla ones they got up here in Queensland.
A few Kias now too. Getting around. You seen those?
Yeah, well, they're pretty quick,
Stingers.
but yeah, stingers.
Is that the cool?
Yeah.
Imagine getting chased by a police Kia.
Don't leave me alone.
Pull over.
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry to cut
But he
you
had,
off, buddy.
yeah, that's all good. So he had, the best of the best, you know. But he started on motorbikes and then went through to, motorbikes and but he was in highway patrol, so tough guy, but fair. He was a good dad. So I come from in the sense of when you hear the rest of my story, you go, how do you end up in a place like that? But so my parents were just normal great parents. From that they did a bit of a reshuffle in the police force. We were Hunter Valley, moved down to Wollongong area, and he was looking after the police boys club down there. Then they were looking at moving all the senior police back to Sydney, back into the office. And Dad said, "I'm not doing that. So I'm not sitting at a desk." He wants to be out and about. So he quit the force and then started his own business there in Merewether, Newcastle. Brought a corner store and started making these custom fishing rods. And so I remember going down Merewether fishing with him when I was a young fella and onto the rocks, and he made all these handmade fishing rods. They're amazing works of art. You'd sit there with a sewing machine and just a butter knife and it's cotton and making them hand by hand and just spinning around. It's amazing to watch, He's got this amazing gift with artistic, I guess, ability to be able to make things like that. And watching him, when I was growing up was like in business. I thought one day I want to be in business myself. So I think that's where my entrepreneurial, side of my bent, I suppose, comes from. Mum's always been she's hard work, and when I went from that onto a courier business, and then Mum and Dad sort of built that right up into what they have today. So still have a pretty big transport company now in the Hunter Valley. So they've always been self-employed once Dad left the police force, and it's been good to watch. And I think that's inspired me in the sense of what you can do in business and the freedom it can give you in life, I suppose. That's sort of started some of my entrepreneurial stuff when I was younger. At high school, I used to go into the bins out behind a news agency and get the men's magazines. Yeah, they'd throw out and take them to school and sell them for $20 a pop. So you got to make money when you're a young fella.
And they all still open.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Surprising.
Yeah, that's it.
Back in the day when it was all magazines.
Oh, it's just crazy. Things you do when you're young to try and make money, and that was all just really to buy chocolates and flowers for the girls at school, so you pick up, So.
Don't get any of those.
I'll supply the magazines, mate. I got you covered.
No, you're right.
How
They
much?
still make them these days. I don't know if they even make that stuff
even
now.
know.
Yeah.
Did they, Miguel?
Yeah.
I think the magazines back those days were a fair bit hairier than the magazines that might be
Oh,
available
okay.
today.
Way off track.
Well, I mean, you're being dirty, mate. I was talking about underarm hair and stuff.
Of course you were.
You disgust me sometimes, mate.
Oh, gee whiz. But it's funny how you start in business. That was kind of my first thought about business, and then I went on to it's weird. Had this weird experience when I was in high school, and we went to Mum and Dad had friends, and then they were going to this church, and so I went along to this church one day, and we'd never been to church to that point. Went along to this church. It was a charismatic church anyway. We were there at the back going, this is all a bit weird. And the pastor just at the end, asked, does anyone want to, just start their journey with Jesus or whatever? So for some reason, I just got up, went down the front, and then prayed this prayer, and all of a sudden I started speaking in tongues, and I freaked out, the pastor freaked out, and then no one spoke about it again.
Wow. Just like
Yeah, it's
taken
just
over and
this weird
manifesting in
experience.
front of
Yeah, and I know where they just, it was a weird experience, and no one followed up. No one, asked told me about it, what the experience was. We never went back to church, but I think from that point it was a little bit of a turning point in my life. It talks about not preaching, but it talks about in the Bible how when you clean your spirit out, if you don't fill it with something good, then really the evil stuff that's in the world will come back, even stronger. And that's what I felt. It was a bit of a shift in my life.
Wow.
From that point on, I started. I met a girl at school. I was 13, and we started sleeping together. So stuff you shouldn't be doing when you're 13.
13.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane.
It's just I started stealing push bikes. Dad ended up having to bail me out, yeah, pretty much, because he knew the local cops, and I was
Had a key on his keyring already.
yeah, that's it.
That's not bailing him out, mate. That's breaking him out.
Yeah,
Get in the back of the car. We're
yeah.
going, mate.
Oh, I know. I was like, oh man, it's pretty embarrassing when your dad's got to, save your bacon. It's just, one thing to another. It's just started making these bad choices in my life. I wasn't a bad kid. I didn't think I was, and even you speak to people I knew back then, they wouldn't say I was a bad kid. Just making, pretty silly little choices. They're not, not dynamite, but they were still bad choices. So, and from that point, Dad started a security business in the town that we lived in, Singleton. So he would go over night time and look after everyone's businesses, and then there'd be kids at school which were getting in trouble because they were breaking into houses and whatever. And then Dad would bust them, get them in trouble with the cops, and then they'd come to school and give me a bit of a flogging at school. So it was kind of, not a great way to I guess, do a school each day, going to school if you think you're going to get flogged or not. So having run-ins with the tough kids at school every day. I'd sort of had enough. So come I think 2 weeks in year 9, I quit. I was out. I think I had a black eye or whatever, and I just got beaten one too many times and said I'm done with school. Left in year 9. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Back then you could kind of get away with it a bit. Nowadays it's not really. Not too many people leave early in schools. But yeah, that was kind of my education in Hull. Was finished at year 9, 2 weeks in year 9, and then just got work straight away. Started pushing trolleys. Was working in a service station. Worked in mum and dad's businesses. They had the courier business still, and they, so I say Dad's an entrepreneur, so he had a security firm and then sold that, and he opened a menswear store, and then he had the courier business as well, for quite some time. So I worked in the menswear shop they had for a while, which is good. But work ethic was there, So I watched Dad work hard all his life, and so I'd work during the day in the menswear store or pushing trolleys, whatever I was doing at the time, and then I'd work in a servo overnight time just to get money, pretty much just to do cars. So I blew all my money on cars. I listened to your podcast last week regarding the houses. I wish I had brought a few houses when I was younger.
The Nathan Birch one.
Oh, mate.
Mate.
What a waste of money I did on cars. And you listen to someone like that, it's inspiring. Man.
But mate, some of those cars back then, look at the value they're worth now.
Yeah.
Compared to a house that you bought back then.
Yeah.
And look how much it's increased.
Yeah, that's true.
So Jonathan Thurston bought when you said about selling push bikes and stuff, it reminded me straight away of Jonathan Thurston, where he was as a 16-year-old kid, and then he got the right manager and right people on his, not so much on his team, but the right guidance, and he became who he was, and he now mentors other kids. But yeah, he also bought a pretty cool car. Didn't even make it to auction. They bought it off. I think Craig's done that. No, it was Lloyd's that done the deal for him actually. I think he paid about $450K for it.
For a car.
Yeah. Beautiful.
You know what you're buying?
It's incredible, isn't it?
When you buy a car like that, you're buying the nostalgic feeling of the memories it had.
Yeah,
That's what you're
it's
buying.
true.
Imagine how many stories that car could tell.
Oh, absolutely. Because those kind of cars, because you're buying you're trying to buy back the memories you've had of when that car was relevant back then.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I remember when Holden announced that they were going to close down. Was that like 10 or so years ago, or maybe even longer? They announced it.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, be a good time to buy like a VL Commodore, because I've got memories of a VL Commodore growing up, And I wish I'd had, because now you do look at them and they're like, 150 grand just for a beat up one. But the reason I want to buy it now, because I'm like, the memories of just, because cars are full of technology now, just to be able to sit in an old radio with a screen.
When Wayne used to be an Eshe.
Yeah.
His VL,
Having his
chair
kebab.
sloped right back.
Yeah.
Having the kebab, bro.
What do you mean used to?
He used to actually hang around with the guys from Fat Pizza.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
That's where I grew up.
That's
true.
the area. Yeah. Oh, man,
But
the
there was
old VL
some
Commodore.
SS Camaros recently, this year, just to see, you get a bit of an epiphany or a bit of a goal to work towards, I suppose. And, my kid said to me, what would you buy, Dad? And for me, mate, it'd have to be one of the rarer model Camaros.
Yeah.
Like a two-door. So some of those rarer ones are 2.2, 2.5 million.
Really?
Yeah, man. Like, if you get into it and have a bit of a look at what the cars are doing.
That's incredible, isn't it? Wow.
I've had the privilege of, I know one of Lindsay Fox's sons, Andrew, and spoke to me a few times about doing a bit of business and that. And like his father's a very avid collector of very rare motorbikes and Ferraris. And as long as my memory serves me right, he has got some of the only bespoke one-off Ferraris ever built in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's worth a mint, isn't he? Lindsay
Oh,
Fox?
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Well, owns
Yeah.
Linfox Transport. Yep.
Wow.
So there's a lot of value in some of those older vehicles, hey?
Yeah. We just wish we kept them.
Pardon?
Wish we kept them.
Mate, there are still like around,
Absolutely.
so very, very west Queensland, Central Desert, NT. There's some really good areas there. Like we used to jump in helicopters and cruise around and try and find them, but it used to break your heart. You'd approach the farmer or the station owner. It'd been sitting there for 20 years. It's been through 4 bushfires. Oh, no, I'm going to do it up one day. But, dude, that thing's seen more floods and fires than kangaroo poo than anything else.
He's probably got memories in it. Can't let it go.
Yeah, true.
This is the memories. That's what they are.
Yeah.
This is the dollar value.
Oh, for sure.
So
Memories
you're
are so
saying you're
important.
spending your money on cars, mate?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, my first car was a HK Holden Ute, which we did up. My dad helped me cut all the floor pans out and put new floor pans in the tailgate and different things. Ended up swapping it for a Holden Gemini, real car.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm a bit blown away with that one. The story
I
was
wish I'd-
sounding so good.
Well, he had to change
Wish
from a
I'd both.
HK Ute into the Gemini because then he became a family man at the age of 13. So
Yeah,
he
that's
had
it.
no choice.
It's so true. You're not far off. But yeah, it's a waste of money on cars. It's crazy. So, but I worked hard. Had this girl, she come from a bad family, so abuse. Her father was abusive. The mother left the father, went in with the new fella. He abused both the wife and the girls. So.
This was your girlfriend, you're saying as well. Yeah, wow.
So kind of that situation where, as a man, you want to protect people, and so it was that point where there was abuse in the home, and Mum and Dad said, "I think we need to get her out of that circumstance." And the worst part was that they said, like, she'd come live with us. It was like you put a
It was on tap.
yeah at 13. So what else is going to happen? So and it happened a lot. It's just hormones raging. It was crazy to think that was a thing, but that was what happened. And it was a tumultuous time because she had obviously suffered abuse, and then and as a 13-year-old boy, you don't think about that stuff. You just want to take them out of that. But then you're in that situation. She was a couple of years older, so she was 16. So yeah, it was a really interesting time in my life. I look back and go, I could have done things so much better, so differently, rather than make those choices I made. But that's the choice we made. So, so she, we stayed together on and off during that couple of years, to the point, come 17, I was 17, and she fell pregnant. And so we got engaged, and then all I thought was the best thing to do is get married. Got married when pretty much just as soon as I turned 18, we got married. And then had my young fella, Tony, and then not long after that, we sort of moved into a house. We ended up getting a housing commission house, which was pretty cool in Singleton, our own place. But I was still working 2 jobs, so I was never home. And I was young, trying to catch up with the mates. And you kind of, trying to do family, work hard, and have mate time as well. Not probably the best combination for a young male. We got pregnant again, had Matt, and then probably she went on a holiday probably not long after we had Matt, and she stayed up at her mum's which is up at Bundaberg, for probably maybe 2 weeks, and then come back, and something was just a bit different. And then she decided to go up there again, a few months later for another little holiday. And then, I didn't know what was sort of going on. And I was at work quite a bit, like I said. And my kids were probably 2 and maybe 8 months, I think. So they're about 20 months apart. And I come home from work one day and the house is empty. So there's a couple of toys laying around. That was it. There's some old furniture that she couldn't hock. But yeah, It was devastating. So I come home to an empty house, family gone. And I just didn't see it coming. I was at work, mates, and trying to do family things.
And you're 18.
Yeah, by that time I was probably 19 and a half or something. So yeah,
19, 2 kids.
yeah, everything gone. So, and I was shattered. So you imagine walking into your house, everything's gone. Your whole family's gone, and I was just instant tear. I was just crying. I didn't uncontrollably. I didn't know what to do. Spoke to Mum and Dad, and they didn't particularly like her at that point. Mum's like, you could do better. Don't worry. It's, just let it go. She's made the choice and all those sorts of things. And it's hard to know what to do, in that circumstance. But yeah, they just couldn't contact him. They pretty much fell off the planet. So it's a pretty hard situation. Yeah, it's devastating when you come home and your life's gone. So
That'll be hard.
that's how it felt. Yeah, it was. That was kind of, don't know. There's so many emotions in that time. It's still only 19. How much do you process, and how much do you kind of just get on with life and wonder what to do? Mum and Dad were like very supportive. I moved home. Just kept working jobs I had, and then men don't like to be alone too long. So eventually found another girlfriend. Became my fiance, and we sort of thought the best thing to do is maybe travel for a little while. I tried to find them, my wife and kids, but they pretty much made it near impossible. They just kept moving and had no idea where they were, whether they were in Queensland, Victoria, and they'd sort of flipped between the two states. He had family, the guy that she'd left me for, had family in Victoria and also family in Queensland, so they'd moved between the two states. And so she ended up leaving me for her stepbrother that was abusing, part of the abuse when they were younger. So, really messed up situation, I know. Yeah.
So you were 19 and she left you for someone that was abusing her.
Pretty much.
That was her stepbrother.
Yeah, it's
That was her stepbrother.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think you dodged a bullet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I had my part to play. I should have been home, or I should have, whatever. But certainly, there was some messed up situations which I have escaped, and I look back and go, well, definitely. But it's still, hard stuff. So, and when we think about it, the kids were then with their stepdad was their uncle, kind of. Anyway, it's all messed up. I'm trying to explain that to the two boys.
Sounds like that. What's the family from The Simpsons? What's that weird family from The Simpsons where it's like, what's his name? The Slack George Yodel? Yodel, is that his name? Sorry. That weird family from The Simpsons where they're all related, like his uncle's cousins.
Oh, really?
And they're all like in one like redneck kind
From
of.
Tasmania.
I was going to say that. I'll refrain.
Or Tassie, that's the easiest way to say.
Some of my mates are from Tassie, I can say that.
Mate, I had an ex-girlfriend. She was actually an ex-fiance. They were trying to give us relationship advice. Her mum was with... So her mum and dad, she was originally with her dad's brother, so her uncle. So her mum and this dude had 2 kids. Then they split up.
Yeah.
And the mum got with old mate's brother. And then my girlfriend at the time, she was born from that. Now, the first 2 kids that were out of that relationship, so her stepbrother and sister, but also her cousins. Right?
That's confusing at Christmas, isn't it?
The brother...
Kind of need you to start again.
The brother was... Well, the older sister was engaged and she was having an affair with a married dude. They ended up hooking up and they've got kids and they're still together. And the brother and his wife, they pretty much had an open relationship, from my understanding, back in the day. And these guys were giving me marital advice. And I politely told them all to get fucked. I'm just going to keep running the court.
Is that polite way? That's the polite way.
Sounds nothing like you at all. We highly doubt that.
And we never seen eye to eye. And everybody lived happily ever after.
Oh, man, that's full on. It's a crazy situation, You look at all that and go, yes. Yeah, wow. And the worst part was that he was a heroin addict. So he brought her into that world. And I found out that later on. Didn't know at the time, but found out later on. But he was a heroin addict. So she started using. So that kind of spiraled out. But I'll touch on that once we get to that point. Find out more about that, what transpired between when she left me and when I ended up finding her later on. But yeah, so I met this new girl. We started travelling around Australia. And then we sort of worked our way up to Port Macquarie, just in a camper trailer and an old Land Rover, Series 2A, 186 motor.
No way.
Yeah.
That was my first four-wheel drive.
Oh, really?
4 gear sticks or 5?
No, I had the you had it all. Yeah, I know they all did something. So there's so many gear sticks on there.
That's
Yeah.
4 on the floor.
High and low.
4 gear sticks. You
yeah.
had first, second, third, and fourth.
Yeah.
Then you had ferry overdrive, which was pretty much fifth. So there were 2 gear sticks there. Then you had high, low, and then you had your range change.
Yeah, I think mine had 3.
Yeah, then you had
Diff
speed.
lock or something. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Good old bus though. Yeah, it'd be worth a bit
No,
now.
no one can clean the teeth on a Series 2A Land Rover gearbox like I could, mate. Ping! Oh. But you know what, like that thing, I remember that when we were driving up to the beach, Port Gregory, everyone used to take the piss out of me. And we did it, I think it was either a 186 or a 202 in it.
Yeah.
Hot as hell.
Yeah.
Like the vents, you open the vents up, it's coming straight off the back of the motor, right?
Yeah.
So it's stinking hot. And it was flat out, mate, doing like 80 Ks an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, you could scream it at 100 K an hour. But when we got to the beach, all these guys that were passing me, Nissan Patrols and Toyota Land Cruisers, the Hiluxes, are going across the salt flat because of the way it was geared with the diffs and the gearbox. See you later, boys. I'm out. And we'd get to the campsite first. So that for the first 100 Ks, they'd get to us, but the next 2.5 hours of forward driving.
Yeah.
See you later, boys. It's good.
The army used them for a reason, didn't they?
Well, and they were aluminium, mate, so they
Didn't
they
rust.
corroded, but they didn't rust. Yeah.
But
So you were saying you bought this car.
yeah, so we ended up in Port Macquarie at that point. And I started working in a nightclub there. I thought, I'll get some work. I went into a nightclub one night and there was a fight broke out. So I jumped in and busted up, pulled the guys apart. And then they said, do you want a job? So they gave me a job behind the bar and became the bar manager and then ended up running the club for a while, a number of years. And then we started doing promotions and then got in. I was getting celebrities in, Ryan Quanton and Daniel McPherson. I remember picking up Daniel McPherson from the airport in Newcastle. And he jumps in my car, puts his feet up on my dash and grabs his newspaper and looking at the race guide. So I was like, is this guy serious?
Really?
Daniel McPherson.
He's kind of died off now. So where's he now? Anyway?
I don't know. What is he on EastEnders or something? I don't know. One of those British shows. Met Madeline West. That was probably my favourite celebrity, obviously. Lots of those home and away stars, neighbours, all those sort of guys, I was sort of bringing them into the club as promotional nights and things like that. So, but I remember at the club one night, I looked across, I saw this, this amazing, one of the best looking women I've ever seen in my life. And then one of the other staff knew her and I said, you need to introduce me to this girl. A bit of a backstory. The girl I was engaged to had cheated on me 3 times by then. So my self-esteem was pretty low. So my wife had left me, got with this new girl, engaged with her. She cheated on me 3 times, but I stayed with her because I thought I couldn't do any better. So that's my lot in life is women like this. But I spotted this girl and something about her was different. She just looked different. She wasn't, drunk off her head and doing, sleeping with all these different guys and whatever. She was coming and going each weekend, but you could just tell, she wasn't like that. So introduced to her and so we went out, as you do, went for breakfast that morning at Macca's. So, classy breakfast out.
Did they have like half-price cheeseburgers at the time? Or?
That
was like 25 cents back then. Yeah.
And you couldn't get the normal menu till 10:30.
Yeah,
too.
that's
breakfast
it.
Till 10:30.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you had hotcakes and the big brekkie.
Yeah, they were pancakes. Yeah, remember they used to do those in a styrofoam. Yeah, they were great. And the first thing I said to her was, "I've got 2 kids. I've got baggage, and I want to see them one day. If you want to go out or if you want to further this relationship, that's important to me.
It's a priority.
Yeah, that number one thing. I want to see my kids one day. I want to see them. They're going to be part of my life. And she accepted that we had the baggage. So I broke up with my fiance and started going out with Jodie, so who's now my wife. And best thing that's ever happened to me. Amazing woman and
Well done, mate.
supportive. And just been an amazing journey with her. So so we from that point we started going out and sort of moving forward. But the thing was, let's find the kids. So we started a bit of a legal process through a solicitor, and we told them the story. How do we find them? So because they just kept moving, we found out that we could subpoena them through Centrelink because they were on benefits. So we had papers served through Centrelink and then to a court in Melbourne, and they had to attend that court. So the idea was to get access to my kids. So I would finish work. Court was set for a Monday, I think, or Tuesday or something. So court was set. I finished work Saturday night, got in the car, drove to Melbourne straight, which is the old highway. Got down there, did family court that day, and then it was first process, I think I went about 4 times down to Melbourne just to get, so they could try and get some sort of access going, find out what was happening with the kids. It's just a frustrating process when you've got to deal with Department of Human Services in Victoria or anywhere really. It's just it's a messy system. It's not designed for ease of use.
Especially knowing that you've got your own flesh and blood, they're in a situation and you're trying to do everything by the law to get them out successfully. But you know damn well that every second, every minute of the day that they're with those people, they're doing more damage, physical, mental, emotional. And we just got to follow the process. It's crazy, hey?
Yeah, I guess they didn't know me, but it's trying to get them to know me. And I think after the first few times, the worker got to know that I was genuine, you know? And so she's like, let's try and get this happening. So I think the third time I went down, another trip to Melbourne, 12 hours driving in the car. And then I got down there and she's handed me a bunch of paperwork and said, you probably need to read this. This is the family file. I was like, yeah, right. So I read through the family file and it was just...
horrific.
Yeah, you can't even think what your kids have been through, you know? So it's just... think about it now, it gets me messed up because these people are allowed to have children. They got 3 other children plus my 2 boys, to the point where the house was. Human Services had gone to the house one day because there was complaints, and the kid had apparently one of the kids had, not my boys, but the other kids had wet their bed so bad that it was dripping through the bottom of the bed, and they were still making them sleep in it as punishment. And kids were bashed. They were sexually abused. Just the worst sort of treatment you could think of. The kids had been through it, some more so than others, and it's just that when you read that, it just rips you apart. And the first thing for me was like about blame myself. I put my kids in that situation. I didn't do enough to follow them up. I didn't try hard enough, or all those things is just just rips you apart. Knowing that your kids have been through that and you couldn't do anything about it, you can't change it now. They've been through that. There's nothing I can do to change the situation except to try and get them out of that situation. So my second eldest boy, Matt, so he didn't have a lot to do with it because he left when he was really early, so he didn't really have much relationship with me when he was younger, so didn't know who I was really, or that was tough. So, and by that point, he'd been taken into a foster care situation. And he didn't really want to have any contact with me either because he didn't know who I was. This is like 8 years later. But my eldest boy, Tony, he remembered me because we was probably 2 by the time he left, but he sort of somehow knew that I was like, he still called me Craig, but he knew that I was important, someone important in his life. But he'd been through anything you could think of. He was probably got the most abuse where Matt hadn't really got as much, but he's mentally abused because he had to see all this happening to his brother. So I got supervised access with my kids after, this is about the 5th trip to Melbourne with courts, and they give me a supervised access so I could spend a couple of hours with them, walking around a park with someone following me, looking at me like I'm some sort of pedophile, and just making sure I wasn't doing anything inappropriate. And it was just the weirdest situation. I'd done nothing to my kids, and I had to go through that. So I was there for a 2-hour visit and drove all the way back to Port Macquarie, 12-hour drive back. And then finally after a few of those, I got access to my kids for the weekend. So I got a whole weekend with my boys, which was fantastic. So loaded up the car. It was close to Christmas and birthday. So I brought them a bunch of toys and, I think bikes and a few other things, and loaded the car up, went down and I got them on a Friday arvo. Spent the weekend with them. It was awesome, We just went to the shops and we're at the caravan park. So just hung out at the parks all weekend and just had a good time talking to them and getting to know them. And which is, they still call me Craig because they knew Dad as the stepdad. And then we were due to go down 2 weeks after that, and I'm looking forward to that again, just another weekend with my kids. I was trying to get as many as I could because I wanted to build a relationship with them. And then I got a call from Human Services, said they've left the house, there's no one in the house, the house is empty, so they've taken off again. So I was like, man, this is just, it was pretty full on. Didn't know what to do, so they'd gone to Queensland, finally found them, served papers on them. They went back to Melbourne again so I could have access to them. And then Next thing I go, get a call from Melbourne CIB. They wanted to interview me. I was like, what's this about? So they made me drive from, there was no like Zoom or anything back then. Get in a car, drive to Melbourne, get pulled into the police station. And the coppers shut the door. He said, mate, this is an interview. Want to interview about your weekend with the boys. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Interviewed me and then said, there's been allegations that you've sexually molested your kids. It's like, I said, I was speechless. He goes, oh, you got nothing to say? I said, mate, I fought all this time to get access to my kids. And I said, and you're seriously thinking this is what I would do? I said, mate, this is what we did. We steps by step, what we did for the weekend. We lost the car at the shopping centre. It was a big shopping centre. All this stuff that we did step by step throughout the weekend. I said, I'm shattered, mate. I don't understand. And then he said, look, that's formal interview has to be had. This is the process we've got to go through. He turned a recording off and said, mate, I'm really sorry. Had to do that. It's part of the process. We know the stepdad has been molesting your kids, and I know how hard that is for you to hear and have to go through this process. And he said, we just had to do the interview. Apologised, but he said, you're free to go. So I had to drive back now 12 hours back to Port Macquarie in a car by myself, knowing what I'd just been through. Oh, right. It was like I was. And then Department of Human Services then, they were like, oh, I don't think we should go back to supervised access because there's allegations, And it was just this whole, it was like, they serious?
So they've got allegations that are falsely being accused.
Yeah.
Obviously by your ex and the guy.
Yeah, yep.
And yet they've got a file as thick as a Bible on all the physical, mental, sexual abuse and beatings of fact.
Yeah.
And doing nothing with
it. Mate, it is ridiculous, eh?
Yeah. That's just my, like I said, Matt was like, had to see all that happening, but he was not part of that abuse. But it was just, to know that one of your boys has been through that sort of stuff is just, and to be accused of that was something that is still hard to believe that they had to go down that road. And they were allowed to get away with it. What happened is that they'd taken my eldest boy to the doctors and he'd had worms and different things. And he said to the doctor, my daddy touches me there. And that was the start of it. So that's when they realised something's been going on here. And then that started the investigation. And there's their story. Oh, they just come back from a weekend with his dad. So he never called me dad. He called me Craig. So
wow.
Yeah.
So the story was basically just like a misunderstanding.
Yeah, but they ran with it, fabricated it, used it.
So the young fella said, my daddy, who he knew as his daddy was his stepdad.
Yeah.
And then the stepdad and the mum, or your ex. Yeah, that is right. It was his biological dad, not his stepdad.
Yeah, it's pretty... I mean, at that point in time, I was managing nightclubs, and I used to go back to... we'd go back to one of the bike clubs, clubhouse after work, Friday, Saturday nights, and party on. Got to know a lot of those boys pretty well. And sort of they knew my journey with the kids and what was going on. All good guys. And
they all are.
Yeah. And we're having a good chat. And, one of them said, man, I'll take care of him. It's easy. Just give me the word. Easily done. No problem. So you got his address? I was like, yeah, I got his address. So I passed his address on. He said, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Sweat. He's done. So I started the wheels in motion of pretty much start of somebody to get rid of the bloke because what he'd done to my kids. I was so hurt, and it was just, you look back and go, I can't believe I was ready to go down that road. And
well, I can believe it. I think any father can believe it. Yeah.
I think you're doing society a favour, mate. Not just your kids, but you're protecting other kids in society.
Oh, it's just. But the crazy thing was that the next morning, they wouldn't have had time to even process what I talked about. The next morning, I got a call from the police that he'd committed suicide in the house. So
you're kidding.
He'd hung himself where the kids had found him, come out of the room.
Mate.
So it was...
what a selfish piece of shit.
Yeah.
He put the kids through all that, and then he goes and hangs himself just to torment them that one more time.
Because he knew the cops were coming for him, so they'd told him he knew the process, what was happening. He knew I'd been interviewed. He knew that he was gone. So and so he just pulled the pin, and Yeah.
Can I just say something like that though? Because I agree with you, Miguel. Like I go, look, wow, what a grub, what a scumbag, and same crack. I'm sure you've had these
Yeah.
thoughts go through your head. The other thought that goes through my head is, what does a guy like that go through to become that kind of guy?
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
giving the guy leeway by any means, but I go,
For sure he was abused. Yeah.
You're not wired that way. That's a miswiring. That's a build up of something.
Yeah.
What does a guy like that go through to think that lifestyle? Well, I'm not going to say that he ever thought his lifestyle was okay, but what does a guy like that have gone through to go, this is the lifestyle he's chosen? That's insane.
Oh, yeah.
And then he did it so the kids would find him. It's
Yeah.
like leaving a last impression.
Yeah.
Some similar circumstances there. Like I was abused as a kid myself, mate, physically and sexually. Found solace, I suppose, in outlaw motorcycle clubs.
Yeah.
At the time, I suppose it was my alter ego. But as I learnt later on in life, the reason I did it was actually to build a protection barrier around myself, because
Yeah.
people look at you and know that you're associated with blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with him. But then I propelled that ever so well.
Yeah.
And the people that I did want to be in contact with were like, I actually done it because I thought I was getting respect out of it.
Yeah.
But people either feared who you were with or didn't want to associate with you because you're guilty by association, whether you were there or not, right?
Yeah,
some
that's
of
true.
the guys that without saying any names, one of the guys, well, like mates with Sergeant of Arms, presidents, vice presidents, blah blah blah, and the whole motley crew. One of the guys that was vice pres at the time, he never ever took drugs, never drank. I said to him, "Why did you join a bike club, mate?" And he said, "Because I love Harleys and I love bluing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can stay inside this club. We'll go up against another club and belt the piss out of each other.
Yeah.
No one's going to go to the cops, and I can ride a Harley like as much as I want." He said, "If I like football, I would have joined a footy club."
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Makes
to me.
sense. Yeah.
And that guy and so one of the noms, the Sergeant of Arms, and the vice president all held very high-ranking jobs with BHP.
Yeah.
Like high-ranking jobs.
Yeah.
So they were just average guys, mate. That they're in a
for
club,
sure.
you know. And that actually, the Sergeant of Arms, he was. I mean, if you're a Sergeant of Arms, you're pretty handy with your capabilities, and he was very handy. But he had a lot of abuse as a child himself.
Yeah.
A lot of abuse, very very messed up. But I really like you get him one-on-one. I never had an issue with the guy ever.
Yeah.
And if he used to nut out, then his missus, she was a nurse, she used to give us a call. Hey, can you come around? Or she'd come to our place, and I'd go to their place and go and sort him out. Well, physically, we just talk to the guy, mate, what's going on, dude?
Yeah.
And you could just say, like, he's... And then you try and talk it through with him to try and get it out of him, and he'd either crumble or he'd just go off the Richter scale. So...
Take us back there, mate. They found him in the morning. So your bikie mates had planned to take him out.
Yeah.
Next morning, they found him anyway.
Yeah.
All the
He
kids
was
found
already.
him.
He decided to do it himself, which is a blessing, really. If you look back, go, man, I could have been charged with conspiracy. You know, that's 25 years or whatever. It's it was a blessing that transpired, and it didn't have to go the other way. So from that point, the crazy thing was, from that point, my ex has gone, I can't handle the kids. I don't want them. Like, I'm not doing this by myself. My heroin supply is gone. I'm not coping with life. So she's called Department of Human Services, and it's gone from me being the bad guy to like, here you go, have a kid, take him. I was like, so me and Jody, we went back down to court, and we went to court, and we said, we'll take him on a 6-month trial, like, so just to make sure we can cope, because he was coming out of a interesting situation. And so we took him back to Port Macquarie, enrolled him in this. He definitely had. There's lots of stuff going on in his life that's he's still dealing with today, but he's got high functioning autism now. Back then it was kind of like, what's going on with this kid? Doesn't learn, can't sit still, dealing with all this stuff. And he come into our house, and we put him in a special school which could deal with those behaviours. There's behaviours of just fidgeting, not sitting still, running away, all sorts of things. And then from the abuse, there was some behaviour which wasn't really appropriate. So Jodie had been through stuff when she was younger as well, so it was heightened around that side of life. And my daughter, we'd had a daughter by that point as well. So we're bringing her into our house with a daughter and a new wife, and it was it was a tricky situation. Got to the point where we had it. He'd been beaten so hard, one of his eyes was facing left, so it was facing totally different directions. So we had it operated on. They detached the muscles and reattached them and straightened his eyes. And so he'd been through a lot, So we had all that done in the time he was with us. But at some point, it was kind of like Jodie got to that point where it's like, I don't feel comfortable, just from her experience when she was younger, I don't feel comfortable. And he didn't do anything, but it's just some things that, triggered the situation in Jodie's life where she goes, I can't really deal with this. I want to keep our family healthy and moving forward. I can't deal with all this as well. So she's come to me and said, look, it's either him or us. You've got to make a choice. So that, yeah. That was probably a big turning point in my life. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, he's been through all this stuff, but I wasn't wanting to go through that again with another situation. So I was like, well, the only thing I can do is choose to send him to his maternal grandmother in Queensland because there's no one else wanted him. So we made a choice to send him to Queensland to the grandmother. And from that point on, I was not dealing with life at all. So I'd go to work and I'd refuse drinks to someone over the bar and they'd say no. I'd just grab them, reach them over and knock them out. So, or, drag someone out, put them to sleep, drag them down the stairs and flog them out the front, or just because they'd look at me the wrong way. Or it was just, I'd go to the nightclub and just do dumb stuff because I just wasn't coping with life.
You don't look like you could handle yourself, mate.
No.
You got arms like my legs, mate.
I wasn't when I was
You
younger.
could drag me over there.
Yeah, that's from being little when I was younger, getting picked on. It's like it's not going to happen again. But I was not coping at all. It's a tough. And I didn't have a mate. Didn't have one good friend. Not one person I could speak to and go, I'm struggling with this. What am I going to do? Just had my bikie mates and my work mates, and that was it. So, it was a really, really, really tough time in my life. I think things would have been different if I had someone to talk to. If I had someone say, pull your head in, mate. What are you doing? Just let's sit down and talk about it. You can't just bash people for no reason. You need to calm down, mate.
Was it in your life at this time?
He was in Newcastle and I was up there, but we kind of didn't have the closest relationship, And Dad is a great man, but he doesn't talk a lot. So I'm probably opposite to that. Because of that, it's funny how you have, your dad doesn't talk a lot, so I've decided I talk a lot. So I'm the communicator in the family. When we've got stuff going on in our marriage, I'm the one who brings out the podcast and brings the books in and let's talk about it. Let's work through this. Or, and the kids, I run a catch up with all my boys, once a month as just we sit around the table or play pool at home or, we go for dinner or we do something social where we talk about stuff that's going on in our lives and encourage each other. And just trying to get my boys to come together and stay as a close, but that's I talk. And so but coming from my experience, how bad it was not to have someone to talk to, I want to make sure that everyone I now have a relationship with has someone to talk to. So, but I wasn't coping with life, so people have been offering me, like at nightclubs and bike, there's drugs everywhere. And it was like, everyone's offering me drugs all the time. And I was always like, no, I am not, from what I've seen go through with my kids, there's no way I'm touching drugs. I was like, I'm not a druggie. I'm not a, junkie or I'm just not going to do that. But I got to a point where I needed to forget about life. It was too much. I just, my kid's gone now up there. I just don't know what to do. He's going to end up and, it was a hard situation. And so I stayed away from drugs and I said, I'm not doing it. I'm going to try and push through. I got a call from Department of Human Services, docs or whatever they were in Queensland. And my boy had pretty much nearly bashed his nan and broken the windows and kept running away and they just couldn't deal with him. And Department of Human Services, docs, whatever, said, look, mate, this is the option. You put him more to the state, you'll never see him again, or you take him back and you find something for him in New South Wales. I was like, so I said, send him back. So I drove to Brisbane. They got off the plane from Bundaberg and they said, here's some pills. If he plays up, just give him a pill. That's it. And then they turned around and left. And I got in the car and drove with my son I hadn't seen for a few months.
How old was he at the time?
So he was about 12 then, probably, I reckon, 11, 12. And I rung my parents and said, man, this is what's going on. Can you sort him out? I said, I can't have him at home. So Dad said, look, I'll sort him out. He'll be fine. We'll come and grab him and we'll take him back and we'll look after him. So they, I drove back from Brisbane, and then Mum and Dad met us, and then they took him back to the Hunter Valley. But same thing happened. He was smashing windows, give Dad a bit of a touch up. They took him to the doctors to find out what's going on, and he ran away from the doctors and nearly broke the door. He'd just run away, and they'd find him 3 kilometres down the road, and they just couldn't control him. And he was just absolutely out of control. So, and that just pushed my stress even more. So I was in this situation. I mean, I cannot do anything. what am I going to do? It's just and around that point in my life, when he was at Mum and Dad's, one night I just had enough, and I was at an after party. One of the guys said, "Man, you just need to chill out. Have half a tablet." So I had half an ecstasy tablet, and I just forgot about everything in life, and I just sat back and I was like, "Man, why is everyone cartoon characters all of a sudden?" And I was like, and then it's
Playing there, brother.
Oh, no, it's like, I was like, oh man, this is like, give me the other half, and that's it. I was hooked. I was hooked on forgetting about life. I was hooked on dealing with life, and I was hooked on just the feeling. I was like, man, this is
The endorphins, right?
why wasn't I doing this earlier?
Yeah.
I'd go to work and whack, gram of speed and start work. I'd punch out at work night. It was nothing. This is fantastic. So, and that was how I dealt with life for probably the next 3 or 4 months. It was just a streaming load of drugs. It was crazy. And then my son, Mum and Dad said, look, we can't do this. So he became a ward of the state in New South Wales and was taken into the Nexus unit at John Hunter, which is a mental health unit. And then and Alambie Care ended up taking him on. He ended up going into a group home. And it was one of the things they told me later on, when workers went into the house, if a female went in, they had to have a male companion because he would just go off if a female come in the room. Like, he would just go crazy. And part of that was that he just felt abandoned by every female in his life that never stood up for him and never protected him. So, and it was just this thing he went through. He went through these group homes and then ended up going into foster care. And then, that was the best thing for him. Alambie Care in Newcastle did the best job, like, amazing. He just, every care that he could get, went through, psychologists and through different ways of dealing with stuff, medications and everything they did for him. It was just amazing the way they treated him and made him feel valued and made him feel loved. And that's all he wanted in life, was to feel valued and loved, not from someone to find it too hard. You can go to the next one. Foster carers would find it too hard when he's younger. You can go to the next one. I found it too hard. You can go to the next one. It's just, that's all he had in life. And so that for me was like hard that he'd had to go through all that. But he was in a good place with Alambie Care. They've done such a great job with him right through until he's still in their care, really, as a sort of NDIS offshoot. They help support him in different ways. But dealing with all that, I started taking the drugs, and drugs are expensive, man. So one of my mates one night said, man, I can get you some of these if you want to just move a few to mates and you manage a club, bro. Like, it's perfect.
If anyone could sell drugs,
That's it. You look up for promotions, promote it better. So I was like, man, I'm a drug dealer. Eh? It's like, so I was just selling 1 or 2 here and there, just enough to cover my what I use for the week. And I thought they're buying it anyway. Yeah, you justify it. Yeah, they're going to buy it anyway. Might as well buy it off me. And then one of my mates introduced me to this chick, and she goes, oh, have you got 10? I'll grab 10 off you. I said, you know her? I said, who's this girl? Yeah. He's like, yeah, he's trying to tune her. He's like, yeah, she's sweet as. She's cool. It's like, all right, 10. That's the first undercover police officer I'd sold to. So it's like, and that was the start of it. And then she's put me in contact with this other guy. Oh, can you get like 50? I was like, oh, my mate can. So contacted my mate. He's come in, 50. And then, can you get 100? Can you get 500? And each time it just jumped up. Oh, can you get we want 15 ounces of speed. Can you get that? What about 3,000 tablets? Can you get that? It's like, and except for police, I sold 1 or 2 to people. And the only one I sold more than 2 tablets at a time, maybe 5 tablets at a time, to if they're going out or whatever, was to police. And then, so then I do this. My mate's going, you have to do this run because we would get in. This is crazy. Back then, you just have no fear. We'd get in The boys had WXs, of course, as you do as drug dealers.
We get
We get no, that's it.
The cops couldn't catch him, mate.
Yeah,
That's it. That's what they thought. So
car.
my mates had, they both had a white one and a blue one, and they're like, so we go to Sydney on a Thursday or a Friday and pick up, the week's supply. So
Just on the grocery run.
yeah, so you whack a couple of pills down, jump in the car, and then smack down the Pacific Highway. So, oh yeah. And the police, after they did this, they said, "Mate, you guys are crazy. Like, we'd be going down the road and go on a right side shoulder around 3 lanes of traffic and back across into the right side. And they were following us, let us do this stuff." For 6 months, they tracked us. And so they had one car in front of us trying to get away from us, and they had one car behind us trying to keep up with us. And then they'd follow us to Sydney, watch us go in the house, get all the stuff, come back. And they'd follow this. Probably that was like 3 months of that kind of really hectic stuff, where they let that go and continued to track us around. And I knew they'll follow me, but there's care factor was zero. You get in that frame of mind, and people go, "Oh, you should know good from bad. You should know what you're doing is wrong. You're just running wild, and you just don't care when you're in that frame of mind."
It's a chemical imbalance in the brain too, mate.
Oh, it was pretty full on. Yeah, there's crazy times, and so that was the start of it. And we had a drop off in Kempsey one day, and so I went up. I had that drop off, and the other boys were back in Port Macquarie. And I remember pulling up the park and then saw the guy's car across the road. So I walked across, got in the car, and all of a sudden there's this, what the hell's that noise? I look around and there's just cops running at the car, like full machine guns, a couple of Glocks, but this is pretty serious. Straight away, pissed the pants. I was like, that was like I had no choice. It was just complete fear. I was I'd never seen anything like
the video
it.
because it made news, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think I sent it to you. Actually, we could probably even put it on the podcast too. If you guys are watching, we can put that up there and show you if that's okay.
Yeah, it was hectic as.
Too late now.
Oh, yeah.
Signing autographs afterwards.
Because I've seen the video. The camera was like pointed towards the front of the car.
Yeah.
And you've sat down out of nowhere. All these guns are coming up to the window, and you're like, I stink like piss now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They told me afterwards, though, don't feel too bad. Your old mate did number 2, so he shit himself. So,
Really?
Yeah.
So this is like, we're not joking. You legitimately pissed yourself.
Yeah.
It drove that much fear into you that quickly. Wow.
Yeah,
that's
it's
insane.
absolutely terrifying. And it's the copper said, it happens all the time. Don't think you're not tough for having a gun in your face. It's not an everyday occurrence. It's like, but someone pissed or shit themselves. That's pretty normal. So don't worry about it.
And when you first heard it or seen it, did you know it was cops, or did you think it was someone else?
No, I thought I was getting robbed.
Drug dealers.
Yeah, I thought I was getting robbed. I said,
that's probably why you're more fearful at the time.
Yeah, I didn't know it was cops. I just thought I'm getting
cops,
robbed.
that would sit there and blow your face off.
Yeah.
Other drug dealers, it's highly likely.
That's it. Yeah, I thought I was done. Yeah, because the other boys.
You're still not a drug dealer. In your mind, you're selling 1 or 2 ecstasy.
Yeah. It's just didn't even think that.
But you're selling to just the cops big bags.
Yeah.
You thought you were supplying their Christmas party.
Yeah, pretty much. Probably was. To be fair, probably was.
I know.
That's Newcastle.
Cops in the Pilbara. One of my mates was going out with one of the girls.
Yeah.
And they invited us all to go around and have drinks after work one night.
Are you about to tell a story that we probably should? Is this where do we pause
And
this?
I'm just like,
Mate, be careful.
I'm not going around, especially because I was associated then with some gentleman on Harveys.
Yeah.
But my mate rocked up, and they've got these beer fridges out the back of the police station. And so this, within the last 20 years. He's like, where do you buy is it like a little committee or a fund or something? He's like, no, these are all the drinks that we take off teenagers that we're supposed to tip out the street. We chuck them in the police car and bring them back here, and we drink them all. And then, fair dinkum, this is honest to God. And he's sitting there, he says, so how do you get home then? Is there one sober driver? He's like, who the fuck's going to pick up a police car? So they're on the piss.
No.
Mate, I'm dead serious. 100%.
We definitely had to edit this.
Why? What's the truth? Controversy is good for a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Can see
Get
myself
sued.
getting to the window now.
Yeah, but you're not
Can see
selling
myself
drugs,
pissing
mate, so
myself.
you should, well, that's even better for the podcast. But yeah, fair dinkum. Hey,
So comfortable.
Right
they just jump in the cars and drive home, man, with that attitude of we're untouchable, we're coppers.
Yeah.
When you a female and a male cop in Darwin, who were partners on the force, they each had their own private lives and wives or husbands at home.
Yeah.
They'd go and do a drug bust, obviously drug dealers, and then they were going to the next drug dealer and reselling the drugs. And it was one drug dealer in the end that just had enough of it and spoke up against him. The cops had their thoughts that this was going on, like amongst their own police force.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're both in jail now.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And that was only in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The hardest part to swallow is that, like, you sell 2 pills to everyone else, but then the cops, that you get done for commercial supply. But they were trying to, their target, but their reasoning was that they were trying to get the people above me. So they got my guys, so I was arrested, and there was 4 other arrests at the same time. So it was all simultaneous.
Yeah.
And they did Sydney, did my other mates as well. So there's 5 co-offenders all up. That was probably their biggest thing. They were just trying to get that big player, I suppose.
But did they get the big player?
No,
I bet you they didn't.
Didn't get him. No, because none of us said, we didn't say nothing. They got we just got us walking in his house and out of the house. They got nothing. They had nothing on him that was, that he supplied it. We just went to Sydney, went into his house, come out of his house, and we had drugs. But they had no video footage of him getting it. Yeah. So, and none of us were talking. So they pushed pretty hard, but none of us were talking. So, you're pretty dumb if you talk.
You're kind of putting a target in the back, really.
That's it. You end up in a pretty bad place.
So take us back there, mate. So you're in the car, machine guns are bashing on your glassy side of your car. You pissed yourself. We've gone over that a few times, just in case no one can hear. You pissed yourself.
Wait, what happened? What did he do?
You pissed yourself.
It's like Dumb and Dumber, but without the warmth.
Just one.
Yeah, just go.
Just go, man.
So did you stick together? Did it freeze?
They say that as they tap the gun.
man.
Just go, man.
Yeah, just go. Because they dragged him out too, because it was like, obviously didn't want me to shoot him or something. Because some of my mates the other boys had guns. Yeah, there's knives and, there's some pretty hard characters in and about that I was messing with. So, they dragged me out, handcuffed me, and then they took me back to my house. Then they arrested Jodie as well. So, and she was also charged for knowingly take part because she knew what I was doing at that point in time. So she grew up a Christian.
Supportive wife. It's good.
Yeah. I'll put some context on it.
We're all about this here.
In case someone's listening that knows, I'll put some context on it.
All in.
The poor thing. I felt, it was me. I dragged her into that situation. A manipulating man, it pretty much dragged her from her. Grew up a Christian, strong home, all those things. But then I was able to tell her, this is a great idea.
She just wanted a naughty boy, mate.
Yeah, everyone wants a naughty boy. But I was able to convince her this is a great idea. I said, she wants to buy a house. I said, well, this is opportunities come up to sell these extra pills to these guys. Maybe we should just do it and, get a deposit together and then quit. That was the plan. You always say, we'll just do a few, just the next one. So it's going to be fine. Don't worry. I know it's these boys. We've been together for ages. There's no stress. Let's just get the deposit together, buy a house, and then get out of this thing because it's just you're going to end badly. Yeah, I'd be trying to do a drug deal. She'd have Hillsong playing on the TV, and I'm like, turn it down, man. I'm trying to sell drugs here.
What's that worship going on? Yeah, I'll turn it down, mate. How much is that? 10 grand?
The worst part was, my phones were tapped. And then so someone come around the house one day, one of the girls from the club come around the house one night and said, I'm just after a couple of, Craig said, there'd be such and such place, but Jodie was there. And so she's like, I know where they are. I'll be able to get it for you. And so she's rung me and I said, no, don't want anything to do with this. Don't do it. And she goes, it's all right. I'll do it. So that gave police, she didn't do, never sold the drug, never done anything. But because that phone tap, they then found out that she knew what I was doing. So they were able to charge her with knowingly take part. So, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Damn.
So she's now got a criminal record. She had to, she had to do community service. It's just all that stuff just because of one phone conversation where she knew what I was doing. So knowingly take part. She didn't take part in nothing except get manipulated by me. So it's pretty sad. All that is sad. So, so they went through my house, raided my house, ripped it apart. Missed actually a big stash up in that they completely went past it. So that's it.
Boys, we got a party tonight.
Have a piss myself in a
Wayne
month.
Supply.
That's it.
What'd you say? A Christmas party?
No, I haven't pissed myself in a month.
Yeah, that's it. Is that common? Sam's like, what's going on here?
I said, don't say anything.
Yeah.
No drugs for you.
Yeah,
when I was associated with those gentlemen, my wife knew nothing.
Yeah.
She knew that they had, and we did mechanical work for them, right?
Yeah.
And that was all legit. Like, we offered a service. They paid us money.
Yeah.
They were good pays. It was all cash.
Yeah.
So we done the work, no dramas at all. She came down one day. The president and Sergeant of Arms had a bit of a muck around, a few beers and a little bit of a punch on type of thing with each other inside one of the pubs.
It's nothing unusual.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was just harmless fun amongst the boys, mate.
Yeah.
And, people felt a bit nervous, I suppose. The pub that we're in wasn't like an a la carte upmarket pub either. Like, it was a pretty feral pub. So yeah, my wife come down and had our two youngest kids, well, our only two kids, sorry, at the time, and they put her through the ringer there and then on the spot. She said, "You know what? They're my husband's friends, and that's as much as I know. And no matter what they chucked at her, they couldn't get nothing out of it because I always left her out of that life. 100% left her out of it. The business and family were one thing, but the boys used to come around and have like they had partners. Like I said, one of the boys had his missus was a nurse, and the girls used to hang out. The kids used to hang out. We'd have Mother's Day together.
Yeah.
I remember my mum come up and visit us once in the Pilbara, and she thought it'd be great. And I think Mum, if she had a penis, would have had a heart on. Well, she jumped on the back of a bike with a fully patched member cruising around. I'm serious. She jumped on the back of the bike and took her for a ride. Like, Mum's little ego flared, mate. It was pretty funny, to be honest.
That's great.
But yeah, that's one. The point I'm making is one thing I always did was I drew a very, very, very strict line there. Hey, whatever I was involved with or getting involved with or helping out situations with, and I was never involved in what they did illegally. I knew what they did. They were trying to set up business premises, and I'd give them advice on how I'd go about it.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah.
But my wife, it didn't matter, mate, if they put on a lie detector test or anything. They weren't going to get nothing out of it because she genuinely knew fuck all.
Yeah. That's a good, definitely the best way to have it.
How like these women in our lives and in this situation, our wives, these are treasures that we're supposed to be looking after, protecting, all that kind of stuff, and yet there's also the ability, if it's there, to take them down paths that we shouldn't.
Yeah, you got to be so careful what you're doing, and just think about what's the consequences for them if things go pear shaped. So that includes the way you drive, the way you do life in general. So
it kind of
you're
goes
just having
against
fun, but
yes. Well, because one of the things that we say here all the time is that the roles of a man are to protect and provide. And it's funny because when you look at these wives of ours that we're supposed to protect, although that's what we're supposed to be doing, or just that instinct to be the protectors, we put them in situations sometimes that is so opposite to that.
Yeah,
like to take Jodie through that kind of lifestyle is exposing her to something that could have been far worse, and you're glad it wasn't.
Oh yeah,
but it could have been far worse than what it was.
Definitely. I mean, I took it to the clubhouse a few times and things like that. That's stupid. It's like put in a situation where realistically any of the guys could go, "Oh, yeah, you come with me." Yeah. I just, I look back now and go, "What? So dumb." Just incredible,
But like you said though too, mate. Back then you weren't coherent.
Oh,
you were not thinking logical.
Yeah,
you had all this backstory with your kids and your exes, and you felt abandoned and it was probably some form of rejection. So you're in this realm now. A bloke give you a little pick me up there one day, and you're going, "Fuck, this is unreal," and it's opened you up to a whole new world that you never knew existed.
Yeah,
and here comes a snowball effect.
Oh, it just got out of control real quick. So. When you get arrested by the TRG, it's pretty scary. End up in a holding cell for 3 days, and then you get any.
Did you piss yourself?
No, not in there, thank goodness. It's just like
you just wear nappies now. Is that what?
Yeah, I just just in case, you never know who's going to knock on your window. And it makes those long rides on the Harley way better because I don't have to stop.
His triggers now like window taps.
Oh God, here I go again. I'm off. That's why he rides a Harley. No windows.
That's why I find Macca's drive-through stressful. Get through the window. It's like, don't talk too loud, all right?
Can you whisper, please?
Yeah.
Why are you yelling at me?
Yeah.
Don't do this.
So, mate, go on. You're saying your TRG had locked you up for they put you in a padded cell?
No. Yeah. But the weirdest thing, like you go back to your house, you got raided, then back to the police station, interrogate you for hours, trying to get you to and I was just like, no comment, just keep talking if you want. Just not going to say nothing. But in there, they put you in a holding cell. So I sat there for 3 days, but you're getting to drunks coming and going, and then you're getting the odd, crazy people coming and going. It's all loud, screaming, whatever. That was in there for a couple of nights in Port Macquarie. Then they transferred us to Newcastle under the police station. And that's like, man, you're talking, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 cells, I don't know. The noise in there is horrendous. Like it was just, and that's when I started really getting scared. I was like, man, I'm not going to handle this. I mean, it's like terrifying, you know, and that was probably the scariest part of my journey into the next stage, I suppose.
That's when reality started setting in, eh?
Yeah, I'm like, this is going to be my lot, you know. I'm done here. Didn't really know what was going on at home. I didn't know where Jody was. This is like 4 days in now in holding cells, and had the screw come down and he's called me out and said, "Oh, you want to make a call home?" I was like, "That'd be awesome." So I called Jody's mum's place, and then they were actually in the house at that point in time, and they were all praying to get in contact. So she'd got contacted the pastor, and they come over, and within like 15 minutes or so of them, being there together, I'd called, and they said, "Oh, we're just, the pastor's here now. We're just praying to get in contact with you. We need to know where you were, if you're safe, or what was happening." And I called right at that moment. And I was like, just got me. It's just a trigger thing, you know. And I went back into the cells, and some of the guys there said, "Oh, what was that about?" I said, "Oh, they just let me call home." And they said, "Oh, you don't normally get calls out of here. You got to wait till you get to wherever you go in jail." I was like, "Oh, that's a bit weird." And it just pepped me up enough to get through. Then the next day, I went to Cessnock, maximum security. So, and that was, that was an experience.
You're not in Kansas now, Toto.
Holy heck. Yeah, that was, 2 up. So you're in with another cellie. So I went in late, get there late in the afternoon. So everyone's already had dinner or whatever. Locked in the cell, and then old mate's in there. He's a pretty big guy, bald head. It's the typical like, oh, shit. I just want to last the night without being penetrated.
So
Either through my side or through anywhere else.
So did you go into jail with a 5-cent piece and come out with a 50?
No, it was terrifying. I was like, but I go to get up into bed, and there's this hard piece in the bed, and he goes, "Oh, it's in there." That come out wrong. Jeez, I've opened him up now, haven't I?
There, was it?
The terror's coming out.
The terror, there is. You're working the Maltese Terrier.
And he said, "Oh, you might need that in the morning." And open up the side of the bed where there's like a cut in the foam, and there's this shiv in there, like it's got a handle with a bit of barb on the end of it.
Wow.
I said, "You probably need that in the morning out there in Maxo Yard. If you're fresh meat." I was like, I think he's just trying to G me up.
Oh,
really?
I
was
trying to get in your head.
By that time, I'm freaking right out. And I'm like, holy man, I'm really scared now. Because you look out the little window door, and there's 3 stories, and so they're all 2-out cells. You're probably talking a couple hundred, 250 inmates in one yard. You're only out for 4 hours a day.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, mate. I was like, this is, I was sweating bullets. I got out in the yard, though, the next day and looked across the yard, and there's 2 guys I know were in the yard. I was like, oh, boys.
Family.
What's going on here? Yeah, boys that had come into the clubs and had done bad stuff, the nightclub, and they'd end up in there. And then so they were pretty much running. They were some of the head sweepers, so they were running the yard. So, and I got to know them, and I got to get in with those boys, and they're like, "Oh, Humble's good, he's sweet, everyone's sweet." And 2 other co-offenders come in the same yard, and then it was kind of had a bit of a crew. It was quite good.
And you had a little gang going.
Yeah. It was like felt not so scared after the first day. I was like, this is all right. And then so I got a job as a sweeper, which is probably one of the better jobs you can have there. It pays all right. So, but you get to choose. You get fresh sheets. You get first choose on the meals, and you get to pick. You get extra milk, all those sorts of things, which is good. But I was chatting to the chaplain, Ted Hodge. He's an amazing Salvation Army chaplain. So, and he, I just said to him, I don't want to keep doing what I'm doing. I want to make a different choice in life. Started chatting to him. I said, I started reading your Bible, but it didn't make any sense, man. I said, it's actually quite weird. Some of the stuff in the front of that Bible, Numbers, Deuteronomy. I said, I don't understand any of that. He said, you're starting it all wrong. You got to read the Book of John and get some idea around, that'll give you a bit more context about hope and forgiveness and whatever. So, after a few visits with him, probably 3 or 4 times, I went backwards and forwards with him, and he said, we can pray a prayer. So I prayed this prayer around forgiveness. So I said, I just want to be forgiven for what I've done. I've run into people's houses. I've taken their stuff. I've bashed people in the club. What I've put my kids through, what I've put my wife through, all these things. I want to be forgiven. I just hate myself. And he's talked me through this prayer of forgiveness, and which I prayed. And all of a sudden, the Bible just opened up to me and made sense. and then I got the number one sweeper job, and then started running sort of small groups at the chapel, and then become a peer support inmate. So I was looking after new inmates that come in. Got an office job then, so I was just cleaning the office, and it's kind of just this blessing after blessing just coming through. And the biggest blessing was my wife would drive on a Saturday. She'd leave Port Macquarie, drive down to Cessnock, which is 3 hours, and then for a 1 hour visit, and then get back in the car and drive 3 hours back every Saturday. So while I was in maximum security.
That's loyalty, mate. Eh?
Oh,
Loyalty
man.
and love.
Absolutely amazing woman. I look back at that when things are tough. I look back at that and go, no one else would have done that.
Yeah.
I just and that was that her steadfastness in that was because she saw a change in my life. There was this hope, and there was she could see that that God, my relationship had started with God had totally changed my life and my outlook on life, and the officers could see that as well. The screws were just see, man, you've just changed. You come in this sort of, you got in with your crew and you become this sort of angry sort of, no, everyone's going to mess with me kind of guy. But now you kind of just softened and you're helping people, and you're not. I just sit in the middle of the yard, read my Bible, and people go past. Oh, I'm sorry, man, didn't mean to offend you. They'd be swearing and carrying on, and they'd come past. I was like,
What
maximum security, mate.
Which part? Read the Bible or sell drugs and go to fucking jail? Or you just want me to piss myself? Oh, here we go. Oh, it keeps better.
I'm inspiring him now.
I was holding on about for the last 15 minutes.
Oh, it's just
Miguel apologises for not
crazy.
swearing enough. It's like, sorry, I only got him 15 today.
Yeah, I know.
Like, on your rifle, you mark them off.
Yeah.
Look, I'm only up to number 4, mate. Haven't even got 3.
Oh,
No, I'm joking. I used to be pretty good friends with the Bible when I was at Christian Brothers Agriculture School in Tartan. We used to take the back pages out that didn't have any ink on them. Yeah, roll them up and sell them to the other boys in the school. We boys on tobacco. But we had prayer 7 nights a week when we were at Tartan boarding school, and mass 2 or 3 times a week.
That's probably more praise than most Christians say in their life.
And when I got married,
7
Brother
nights a
Walsh, that was he was a big part of my life actually at CBAS. He was obviously invited guest to our wedding, and he'd done a speech.
Yeah.
I remember that, funnily enough, he rocked up on Harleys, and there were some pretty savoury characters that were at our wedding.
Yeah.
And good fun, like good blokes. It was a great night. And as we were walking into chapel to get married, Brother Walsh said, "Do you think you should walk in there, mate, or do you reckon it might fall on your head?" Word for word, it was pretty funny. Anyway, so answer my question, mate. Should I do what, mate? Read the Bible or go to jail? Which one?
No, Craig was saying, blokes would walk past, see that he's reading his Bible, and they'd swear and they'd apologise. Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry for cursing here. I said, mate.
I've never been here while you're reading your Bible, mate. I want to apologise.
Yeah.
He knows when you get closer, it starts to burn my hands.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, lock
The
it away.
devil's coming. The devil's coming.
Lock it away. So Jody started to notice the change.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd with my daughter, I'd write notes to her, letters to her pretty much every second day. And then, it's funny how in jail brings out your creativity, but I'd draw all these pictures and then colour them in. So I'd send her big colourful photos, each once a week, and send little Bible verses out to Jody, and all these sorts of things just to keep relationships, as much as you can contact. Phone calls every day, obviously, but letters, and so it's a big pile of letters we've still got at home that I sent Jody and Maddie while I was in jail. So.
I wonder how many hours the police force worked on those Bible, what do you call them? The passages that you sent to Jody.
Yeah,
trying to encrypt them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
What's the
message?
code?
For the code.
What's the message?
Oh man.
7 passages out of the book of John. They're like, he wants another buy. More drugs.
Yeah.
Bring drugs to Bethlehem. He wants drugs in Bethlehem.
It's under baby Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus has
in
come
the
for
manger.
speed. I just know it is.
Oh man. But it was, I wouldn't change any of that. I mean, I was locked up in maximum for 11 months, and so 4 hours a day I'd be out of the cell. And then you might go, if someone does something wrong, you'd be locked down for 2 or 3 days. So you're not out of your cell at all, except for I was, because I was the main sweeper. But if all the other boys, they're locked up for, locked up for a few days. It gets pretty hectic. Worst parts in there are like Christmas, anyone's birthdays, or if the wife's having a birthday, and the first thing the guy thinks is, oh, she's out shagging someone else because she's going out and blah blah blah, and there was just this whole weird tension in jail, where something has happened on the outside, them inside were suffering, so because they weren't there, and there was this whole FOMO thing that would cause anxious. And then there would be fights, and then there was stabbings or, bashings because someone said the wrong thing because they were upset about where their family was or what was going on, or their family hadn't called them that day. So they're just stressed out and they would just take it out on someone else. Some young fellas just walked in or whatever. So there was a lot of tension, in maximum security. So, and those things just happen. That's day in, day out, that tension. So you'd hear people crying over night time in their cell. You'd be sitting there and you could just hear them bawling because something's happened. Their wife's just left them or whatever, or, the kids, something's happened to the kids, or you could hear them through all the cells crying and carrying on. So it's just, there's all this just adds to the layers of like complexity of jail. It's, it's not all rainbows and unicorns in there. It can be pretty tough, at times. So I had one instance where someone from the second level yelled out, "Humble your dog. I know you like went on your co-offenders, like you told on your co-offenders, whatever." And I was probably about maybe a month, 2 months in, and one of the other boys had been in for a fair while. He said, you have to take care of that. You can't let that happen. So they've just called you out, called you a dog. You need to go take care of it. I said, mate, there's 3 of them up there. He said, doesn't matter. You need to go take care of it. So
Could have just gone and pissed on him.
yeah, that's it. They would have run then. Yeah, that's it. So it's happened. That stuff happens. It's full on. I remember walking in the showers, and the first time I walked in the showers, there's a guy out further, and he was bending over, the other old mate shaving his butt. I said, what? He goes, no, it's nothing gay. Just
No homo.
No.
It's a no homo shave, lads.
I said, well, that's enough for me. I just left.
I'll just leave with me dirty dick and keep it dirty. See you later. I'm out.
I was like, what's going on? It's totally this stuff. It's normal life in there. It's just, it's hectic. Keeps you on your toes.
Did you go and visit the boys upstairs?
Oh, the protection boys? No.
Oh no,
Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah.
went and saw them.
Yeah. The craziest thing was I went up there and I was terrified because 3 guys. I'm going to get bashed here.
Is there a shank in here? What's going on?
Yeah. You just go in anyway. You got to take it because otherwise you'll be stood over for the rest of your time. So I went up there and walked straight in the cell. There's 3 of them in the cell. So I just went in, heads and all. Let's go. You want to go? Your dog? Call me your dog. I'll just run at them. And they're like, whoa. They're like, hold up, humble. Calm down. They started freaking out. And I was like, well, which one wants to go first? I said, I have his all. And then I just sort of moved towards them. They were like, whoa, freak out. They're all freaking out. And I was like, and then I said, well, if you're going to call me your dog, we'll go now. They're like, no, we've apologised, mate. I'm sorry. Just calm down. All good. I said, well, this is where my co-offenders are, blah, blah, blah. There's no stress. And they're like, no, it's all good. And then I left. I was like, I don't know. I don't even know how that happened. Whether there was like some,
Maybe God had a big devil standing behind.
that's
your
what I
back
was
that you
thinking,
couldn't see.
But there's a big angel behind me or whatever. But those 3 boys backed down so quick. I mean, I wasn't going to back down. If I got bashed, I got bashed. But you can't back down in jail. It's just one of those things, So otherwise you get stood over for the rest of your life.
Dog eat
Whether it's
dog,
your
right?
shoes, they come up and go, I want your shoes. I'm like, no, you're not. Take my shoes. You'll be dragging them off my feet. You just can't take it. You've got to stand up for yourself. And once you stand up for yourself enough times, it's all right. But you just got to start that from day one. So, it's like that in life. You've got to stand up for yourself and stand up for what's right. Stand up for your family, all those things. So, sure. But it's it's a different place in there. It's but it's part of my journey. I wouldn't change it. I had 18 hours a day, 20 hours a day to myself. You don't get that out here, eh? Life's so busy.
Yeah.
You don't get time to sit and read or sit and contemplate life, or that can be good and bad. But to have that time to reflect on your life and try and better it without all the interruptions of the world, I wouldn't change it. It molded me to the person I am today. This is 20 years ago, so it's not. This didn't happen last week, thank goodness. My pants will still be wet, but it's it's like, but yeah, it's part of my. I wouldn't change the story, So it's but I had the worst part. I was going to jail, like I was going to court, and I had no character references, not one character. Everyone I knew was like doing bad stuff. I didn't have one person who could say something good about me except my wife. That doesn't count in court because they're going to do that anyway. And
So no credibility references, really.
nah,
Yeah.
no. And I was like, I'd say my lawyer's going, have you got anyone you can call on to say you're a good person? I was like, no, no one. And two high-ranking officers. So they had like 3 pipper and a 2 pipper in jail terms as high-ranking. And they both said, we'll be a character reference, mate. Seen what God's done in your life. I've seen how it's changed. You saw the person you come in and the person you are today and the lives you're impacting around you and encouraging those young guys coming in and helping them through their journey. We can see that there's massive change in your life. You're not the person that you were when you come in. We're happy to go to court and be a character reference. So I went to court I had 4 commercial supply, 25 years each. And I had 50 other supply charges. I was facing sort of at least 10 years. So I went to court and the judge said, you call character references, and the judge couldn't believe his eyes when these corrective service officers were my references. I've been reference of good character, and they stood there and said, we see a lot of people come and go from jail, and a lot of people use that as a crux to try and get out of time, but we saw this absolute change in Craig's life from the person he was to the person he is today, and we totally vouch for what he's done, and the person he's become. So it was like, and the judge said, in my 25 years of being a district court judge, I've never seen someone have a character reference as high-ranking prison officers. So
Wow.
he said, but I can see that there's been a change in your life. So he said, but you've pled guilty. The minimum I can give you is 2.5 years on the bottom. So I did 2.5 years inside, 2 years, 4 months on parole. And I was a bit shattered because I thought I was going to get out. But I pled guilty to pretty serious charges. So did the time.
How long were you in remand before they had the court case?
11 months.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so on and off. So we went back to court, backwards and forwards to court quite
Before
a number
you
of
got
times.
sentenced.
Yeah. And I even just through there's probably a number of court appearances, leading up to it. So adjournment, you go up all the way from Cessnock to Port Macquarie in the back of a truck where you can't see out of. It's horrible. Anyway, that was a journey in itself. And then they'd just adjourn it to another month because police needed to get more information or whatever. It was quite a journey. So
it's 2.5 years.
inside.
Is that including time served?
Yeah,
Okay.
so 11 months already served, and then another, the rest of the time I did in minimum, which was on a farm up in Muswellbrook, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Compared,
No complaints.
mate, we got food thrown over the fence, and we were cooking up steaks, and it was like, because
That's
the boys,
pretty cool.
the boys had connections, so they'd drop stuff and get one of the farm workers would bring it over. So we'd have carbonara or fettuccine, or we'd have pizzas or stuffed chicken breast. Or one of the boys in our wing was a chef, so we just had food on. So we were just training hard, eating hard. That's minimum security for you, though. Yeah, it's totally different to Maxo.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
You're still on edge, you can still do the wrong thing by someone, you're gone. But we had a pretty good crew, so I was pretty much mates with a guy who'd finished off 16 years. So we just hung out and trained hard. He was a good guy. So yeah, nice. A whole nother story about his life, but yeah, it's he had a same thing. He had a turning point in his life at 18. He could have chose to do one thing or another. Chose to do the bad thing, and spent the next 16 years in jail from 18. So terrible.
Almost the same time of his life outside he spent inside.
Yeah.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah, poor guy.
Split second decision moments.
Yeah,
mate.
definitely.
Thoughts?
But yeah, it was, definitely changed my life and changed my outlook. And, I'm not here to preach, but it's just, that's my story. I can't change that story. That's what changed my life, is that decision to, ask for forgiveness for the things I've done and see a different way of living life, so.
Was it a different story forgiving yourself?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's a journey, and still, you bring up some of those things around your kids and what they've been through, and the hurt is still there and the guilt, but I don't punish myself for it. I just accept it and know that I could have done things differently, but I move on from it. So I don't let it drag me back to a bad place. I go, look, I've done that. There's nothing I can do about it, but from this day on, I choose to do better. I'm not going to, continue to beat myself up over it. So.
I think owning it is one of the first keys to forgiving yourself is owning it. Owning the fact that, okay, I did it.
Yeah.
I actually did that. I'm not giving myself an excuse. Not giving myself a way out. I did that. I own it. Now I can move on.
Yeah. But people say that too around even the first relationship. You know, I owned that I could have been around more. I could have done things differently. I could have, you know, been a better husband. You know, at that age it's pretty hard, but I think I could have done things better. So, you know, there's no two ways about it. And I still say to my kids, don't hate your mum. Just pray for her. You know, just pray that she gets out of. She's still in the cycle, the same cycle. So just pray that she gets out of it. At some point in her life, she's going to choose to live a better life. Don't get dragged into whatever she's doing. But, you know, keep your distance.
So she unfortunately hasn't been able to cut the chains, mate, from that cycle from what she experienced as a child.
Nah, from what I know, she's still
I
involved.
think that's called habitual.
Yeah.
So
It's one of them old words, and he always takes a piss out of it. But habitual, Gary V, and Denzel Washington. They're my three.
and the F word is dropped that like 94 times. Let's call it colourful, right? Life's been colourful. But you look back to just touching on your ex-wife, now your first wife, and how she's still in that cycle.
Yep.
As colourful as your life was, and as many pivotal pinpoint moments have happened.
Yeah.
Go back to when you were just saying how you were working away from home for so long, you're never there.
Yeah.
To then come home one day and she was gone. So to think that if you were there, the possibility of you still being in that same cycle is highly likely.
Yeah.
But the fact that you weren't there causing her to leave has literally caused the snowball effect of changing where you are now.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you weren't there, who knows where you could have been now?
Yeah. Yeah, you sometimes think about it and go, what would life be like?
Who would I have become? Yeah.
Oh, definitely would, you know. And that's why some people say, would you change stuff? I was like, no, I wouldn't change a thing. I would change the pain that my kids went through because of that process. But the person I am today, I wouldn't change, and what I've been through, and because it gives me compassion for people that are going through the same thing. People go, oh, bloody junkies, they should know better, you know, pieces of shit, blah, blah, blah. You know, they're just quick to judge them, but they don't know.
They've never experienced it.
They don't know what they're going through. They don't. Those people who are in that situation is just normal life for them. You know, they've been dealt a hand and they don't know how to get out of it. They still make the choice to do it every day, but it's kind of, until you get that light bulb moment, it's really hard to make that choice. Yeah. You're just living life. You're trying to get by every day. Your mates are doing the same thing. It's normal life, you know. You're
surrounded by it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's their normal life. That's their normal people. Everyone who's doing the right thing out in the world, they're the abnormal people. They're the judgy people who are quick to look at you and go, piece of shit. You know, they give them nothing. You know, they're on a dole. They deserve nothing. They should be this and that and whatever. But, you know, they're actually just trying to get by most of the time. So for what I've been through, it gives me compassion for people like that. It gives me compassion for people who have been through divorce. It gives me compassion for people who have been to the absolute rock bottom and no one's there to give them a hand up. So, you know, for me, it's like I wouldn't change that at all. And my kids my two boys that have been through all that as well, I do feel they have compassion for people in those circumstances as well. And like my eldest boy who has high functioning autism, it's funny, you know, he's got the best sense of humour and laughs everything off and nothing worries him. He's just, he's come through that, and his coping mechanism has been, you know, maybe the autism's helped him see things in a different way of light, but he sees things in this, you know, it's all good kind of, you know, fashion, and always has a funny joke to tell. And, you know, it's been an amazing thing to watch how his mind has coped with it all, and now it's come through it. You know, he's such a great guy. So, I admire my two boys like anything. You know, Matt's been through the army now, and living a great life. It's got a YouTube channel, Gnarly Harley, which he's just, you know, out there sharing and loving his motorcycling, and, you know, going and seeing great things and sharing his life with people. And I think it's, you know, you look at that and go, people envy stuff, but then they don't know the backstory.
Yeah. Totally. So when you say, because you're saying you wouldn't change anything about your life.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to see a different perspective and show compassion to men as to why they do, or, you know, lead them down the path as to why they're leading to further things to become who they are.
Yeah.
With that kind of perspective, what do you think you have more compassion on now in the lives of men? When you look at men going through the way we are today, what do you have compassion for the most in the lives of men?
Yeah, I think the world's a scary place at the moment. So that this toxic masculinity thing is something that needs to be squashed, because I think, men we need to be better protectors of our family.
100%
agree. But the world is going that way, where they're thinking it's not healthy to be a protector. Women can eat, and respect for women and what they can do and things, but really men are stronger, and men are they think things differently than what women do, and we look at problem solving things differently than what women do. So I think we need both, obviously, but I think we just need to keep that protective side of us and really nurture that, and hopefully fathers will do that with their sons and talk. And like I share with my boys, the last time we got together, I shared about how, we have to be the ones that lead well. We have to make sure we don't have female friends, or we're not, in a sense of like, you don't go spending time with female friends, you don't text them, you don't, those sorts of things are key in a strong relationship. There's things you should do as a man to protect your family, protect your marriage, and protect your wife. I think I don't want the world to lose that, and I think it's in danger of going that way, unfortunately. So,
mate, couldn't agree more. And that one of the things that we say is within the structure of Average Joe's here, we have this thing called our core 3M, which is the three things that make up what we're about. The crux of who we are can be wrapped up in three things, and it's masculinity, mentoring, and mateship. Yeah. And the masculinity one is literally it's the journey. It's at the forefront of why we within Average Joe's as a movement exist, is to get men to embrace an authentic masculinity and who they are, claim their identity as a true man. Yeah, yeah. Because I totally agree with what you're saying. This whole toxic masculinity thing, and we're going to do a podcast coming up pretty soon about toxic masculinity. And I couldn't agree with you more. It makes me wonder on what the kind of world we would be living in if we weren't trying to squash masculine men.
Yeah.
Instead, we've bad-mouthed it, and we've disempowered men. I have no problem again with women, because I said it before. Like, with our wives, you were telling the story when Jodie would come and she was a part of this lifestyle that you had chosen. You kind of, not going to say you dragged her into it, but she was a part of this lifestyle that you made. But yet she was so supportive, and here you were supposed to be her protector, but yet you dragged her into this underworld kind of lifestyle, right? And the sad thing is I've been married 25 years. Yeah. I love it. I enjoy it. Yeah. And I love the fact that women are empowered. I love the fact that women are pushed to become better and to write. No problem with that whatsoever. The problem I have is when you empower women at the disempowering of men. When the expense comes to take away from men and to go, no, you need to be quiet. You need to sit down. You need to be pushed into this corner. You need to be muzzled. You need to be... The moment you disempower men at the expense, like to enable more empowerment of women, that's where a misbalance comes into it. And now we have a generation of men right through our society of all different cultures, all different age groups. You have this style of men that is weak, but it's like they're not weak by choice. It's like they're weak by suppression. It's like they've been pushed down to say, no, you can't. But I remember going back, remember that whole story with Will Smith slapping Chris Rock? Right? When that story came out, everyone looked at that story and gone, mate, come on, like, Will Smith, you're a douchebag, mate. There's no place for violence, mate. There's no room for violence. And I go, okay, do I agree with what Will Smith did on stage? I don't agree with it. Right? I don't agree. But to say the way you squash that is to go, mate, there's no room for violence. Okay, if I'm lying in bed at 1 a.m. and there's a creak at my bedroom door and some random dude sneak into my bedroom, do I stand up and go, mate, I'd love to punch you out, but hey, there's no room for violence. There's room for violence. There's a time and a place. The problem is you start using that kind of wording, mate, there's no room for violence. Yes, there is. There's a time and place. Don't try and take away the aggression within men, because that's a masculine trait that belongs in men. It just needs to be harnessed, controlled, and directed where it needs to be. True. But don't say there's no room. There is room for it. It has to be there. That's what makes us up. Aggression is, it's a vital part. It just needs to be controlled. So I'm totally with you. I look at, I have compassion on men in general as a whole for that very reason. I see men getting squashed in their marriages, in society, in their communities, in their business. And we wonder why suicide rates go sky high. We wonder why men have lost their identity. And it starts because gradually over these last few generations, 20, 30 years, we've been forcing men to no longer be men. Why? Imagine what the world would be like if men were allowed to be men. Embraced, pushed and gone, mate, yes, you are stronger. Let's just stop denying it. You're stronger. Let's stop fiddle-farting around and trying to cover it and go, we're all equal, the stupidity behind that is insane.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's crazy. Yeah,
Pronouns.
yeah.
That's all I got to say, bro.
One word you've thrown that pronouns. Mate, looking at your life as a whole,
Yeah,
it's like I said, colourful's the right word. Like I said, I knew probably about 70% of what you said today.
yeah.
So hearing another 30 is I don't know if I can be friends with guys that piss their pants. I just going to delete off my phone now. Give me a second.
You know the vehicle that you would have passed in the driveway, top of the hill as you came into this facility?
Yeah.
It's got all that sign writing on it. Pretty easy to find him.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do a test run. We get a couple of boys together on Harleys and rock up with some guns, see if he pisses and shits himself.
Yeah, that's it.
They're going to be friends.
Let's give that a try. Yeah.
Piss myself now thinking about it.
So what do you do now, mate?
Yes, I mean the journey coming out of jail, like it was different. Obviously, like I said, it's 20 years ago. So I said I was sending Jody those little cards. Coming out of jail, or when I was still in, we look at weekend leave sponsor. The last sort of 6 months was you get the weekends out. So part of that was like I need a sponsor. Mum and Dad were my first sponsor, and another couple from Maitland, who I met through Kairos, a program in jail. But then Jodie went into a phone shop one day and she was getting some phone credit and she opened a wallet and this little card Bible verse that I'd sent out fell out. And a girl behind the counter said, "Oh, you're a Christian?" And she said, yeah, we are. So they started chatting and we're like best friends now. They become my weekend leave sponsor.
Wow,
And then they
really?
had a phone shop in Maitland. And then so when I come out on weekend leave, I started working in their phone shop on a Saturday. I ended up buying, that was my first phone shop I brought. So
Wow.
yeah, and so I brought that on a credit card. Network Communications, and their head office was here in Budrum. In Sugar Road at Maroochydore. But they're part of Good Life Church here. But Mike Jeffs, had a meeting with Mike Jeffs, who was the founder of Network Communications, and he took a chance. He said, "Mate, I believe in you. I'm going to let you buy that first store for $15,000." And so I brought my first Optus mobile phone shop on a credit card, and not long after I got out of jail, and I ended up with in total I had about 7 or 8 stores in that 16-year period I was with Optus.
Wow.
So Network Communications here on the coast. So Mike and Steve Jeffs just believed in who I was and what I had to do, and so I sort of would take on either start stores or take on stores that were not doing so well, build them up, the enjoyment that was team. So I'd build up team members. And I'd often build them up and then make sure that they were to a point where they could take on their own store or open a store. And that's part of building team and building people up and giving people opportunity. So I was given an opportunity, so I wanted to pass on those.
Pass it back,
yeah, for sure.
Play it forward.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, during that time also I opened a motorbike shop, started out from scratch, so an adventure bike store in the Hunter Valley. That's when adventure bikes first come out. We sort of thought I saw a bit of a niche in the market, so I started that from scratch. And then built that up and then sold that on. And then when we moved up here in 2019, sold my last store back in Hunter Valley to a girl who had come through for 5 years, trained her up. She trained me up. I don't know. She was awesome. So I always hired people who were better than me because I figured that's the way to do business. Always hire people who can do things you can't do that well. So I was a nice guy and she was like the boss. So I'd deal with team.
Boss.
Yeah, I'd deal with team, whatever, and speak all the nice stuff. And she was looking after admin and that sort of, that really, driver. She was, just an amazing woman. So she took on the last 2 stores I sold in the Hunter Valley in 2019. Moved up here. I brought a cafe in Mooloolaba, black market espresso bar.
That's how I first met you.
Yeah.
Did you just say black market?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
That's what I called it.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's awesome.
And I had on the back of my shirts, I had actually a guy in jail looking out through with his cup of coffee. It was the back of my shirts. And the saying was, "Coffee's so good it should be illegal." And it was just a backstory thing.
That's awesome.
And, it cracked, so I brought it for $46,500, sold it for $190,000 2 years later. Did it up just for cash flow. And while I was doing that, I did my real estate license and mentored under Grant Atherton, a mate of mine in the Hunter Valley. And I kicked off a buyer's agency for the last 3 years now as a buyer's agent here on the coast, buying property for people. So my criminal stuff is a long time ago. If anyone's listening, I'm not It's a changed man, you know. I've done full real estate license.
Agents are pretty criminal too, mate.
That's it. I'm not on the sales side.
I'll get the same as being an auctioneer, so it's all good.
Ah, yeah, that's it. You know, and I enjoy it, man. I get to help people each and every day, which is a good side of real estate. It's not that I don't have to do nothing I don't believe in, and there's a lot of integrity in what I do, and so I really enjoy that. You know, I get to spend people's money, but I do a lot of due diligence, a lot of back end checks, a lot of stuff that people don't think about when they're buying a property. So that's what I do now. So yeah, it's been a real pastor for a little while. We've been in motorbike ministry for 9 years with Christian Sports Bike Association in New South Wales, national president. And now I've just started my journey with God Squad. So I just got my associate patch 4 months ago.
I love how you.
nice.
So you just nommed up.
Yeah, just nommed up.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Is that like your code word?
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
Associate patch.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
associate patch is the stage before you get nommed up. Right?
yeah. Prospect next,
Yeah.
and then full colours. So.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
need to get Miguel into the God Squad.
that's in God Squad, yeah, that's it. And part of that is just I want to be able to give to people. I want to be able to help and serve where I can. And part of that is, you know, I've been hanging around now I've done 2 national runs, and I ride my Harley every day for work. So you'll see my black Harley getting around. It's got "Buy for You" number plate, and that's
What's it say?
"Buy for You."
Buy for you. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And that's my transport every day for work, and people love it. Pull up at open home on a Harley, and they're like, it just creates conversation. People go, "Oh, what do you do? Buyer's agent, blah blah blah," and nice bike. You know, it's a marketing thing because it creates conversation, and conversations create, you know, opportunities, and that's that like everything in life. You know, people are too afraid to say hello to someone. You know, no matter who it is, you have a conversation, you dig deeper, ask them how they're doing, rather than you talking all the time. I like to, you know, and then
You find common ground, right?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's great. I love it. So
Being truthful to myself, mate, and taking things off tangent. Or taking things on a tangent. Sorry.
their own tangent.
What type of Harley do you like? Do you like the Dyna range?
my young fella's got the Fat Bob.
Yep.
And if I had the choice, I'd probably have I'm a sports bike rider at heart. So I like the street glide. It's got the best lean angle. So for handling wise, it's probably best in the sense of it corners, man. I can push that thing pretty hard. But
2 shockies on the outside rather than the mono in the middle.
yeah, and it's got all aftermarket suspension in it now as well. But I definitely like the look of like the V-Rod kind of, you know, that kind of
Mean.
Yeah, that mean
Metal.
look. Yeah, or a fat boy was always something I'd like, but they don't handle. They're a great town bike, but
They're a tank.
Yeah, they're not very comfortable, but yeah, there's some great Harleys. Far out, so much to choose from, hey. But my young fella loves his old Dyna.
Yep.
It sounds like a Harley.
Yep.
It rattles like a Harley, you know. But he'd sort of like to maybe get an adventure bike next to something, maybe like a Pan America or something, and keep his doing more of this channel. But yeah, so gnarly Harley is kind of. We do a bit of riding together on his Dyna. We actually did a ride down south. I took my KDM 1290. And I brought him back from the Hunter Valley, but we threw in a few dirt roads. He goes, "Let's do a bit of dirt roads."
Well, and this is while he's on the Harley.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
By the second one, I think that was a bad decision. He was knackered. His back was done. He was not feeling well, and I think that there was a lot of bumps, more bumps than I thought. But it's time with your that sort of time with your son is hard to get back. You know, I try and do all my kids, if they've got a hobby, I try and do it. It's my daughter horse rode, so we'd go horse, you know, take her out to when she was younger. When she was younger, we'd go out to Wollombi and see the horse and do all the horse riding stuff, brought her a horse and all those things. My kids have always loved motorbikes, so I brought her motorbikes and tried to spend as much time with them with motorbike riding and things. Jonah would be on the back of my bike, who's my eldest of the second marriage boys. He'd always be on the back of my bike till he was too big to be on the back of the bike. We'd do all my rides together. It doesn't matter on the Hayabusa at 260 k's an hour, whatever. Parents kill me if you want, but he was the best, you know, pillion. All the boys would be like, mate, he'd be in the corner before me, you know. It was a great time bonding, you know. And same with Eli, he loves cars, so we just spend time together doing car stuff. You know, just try and if your kids have a passion or something they like to do, go out of your way and do that with them. Yeah.
You probably would bond pretty well with a kid at 260 k's an hour, wouldn't you?
Hanging on pretty hard.
So you got 4 boys then, mate, and the 1 girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, the girls in the
And
middle.
all 4 boys get together. Like I think you said you do it weekly or fortnightly.
Yeah.
Just catch up, play a bit of pool.
My eldest is in Lismore, so he can't get up as much. But and my son-in-law comes in as well. So there's a son-in-law
awesome,
and the boys come together. And we just hang around, have good men conversations. You know, things like how do you treat women, how do you live life, how do you deal with adversity, all those sorts of things, but space where they can, yes, I'm the dad, but they can tell me anything in that circle and it doesn't matter.
Yep.
There's no
There's
punishment.
no judgment.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. Safe
It's almost
space.
like open table, right, with no rules. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Because I share same. I share stuff, marriage stuff. Then
So I think
like,
it's
oh wow, the kids are like, oh yeah. It's like you got to be open if you expect them to be open with you. You can't go, oh, I'm just going to give you a little bit, but expect full transparency.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agree.
You're creating that safe place for them to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Without having judgment, not just from a friend, but from a father.
Yeah.
And
No,
that leads
definitely.
back into the 3 M's that AJ stand by, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Mentorship, masculinity,
Masculinity.
masculinity, and misfits.
Misfit.
Yeah.
Misfit. Craig, with you're a totally different man than you were 25 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it was, right? What do you think, who you were there to where you are now, what's been the hardest thing to maintain the man you are now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pulls and a lot of things in this world which want to take you out. So it's maintaining your integrity and trying to make those right choices when everything's telling you in the world to not make right choices. Social media, if you have a 4Drive and you follow 4Drive pages, well, the girl stuff's come up, So you got to be. I said to the boys, you got to be prepared to go. I'm not going to follow those pages on social media because that's not healthy for the brain or whatever. It's making those choices. So I think the hardest thing is maintaining your integrity and your values and maintaining that because people are watching you all the time. And so that I find that it's still, even though it's part of who I am, it's still hard. So I think that's the biggest thing is keeping your integrity and what you see value in and you want your kids to see value in is doing those things. Because people are always watching. So I think that's the hardest thing, No, people often go, did you ever want to go back to drugs? Because I was using 13, 14 ecstasy tablets a day and I don't know, 4 or 5 grams of speed every day. And they're like, did you ever want to go back to drugs? It's like, no, I just made a clean cut choice. I'm not doing it.
Yep.
Done. No. If you want to do it, you'll make the choice. I said, I just went, no, done. I'm not going on your methadone. They tried to give me methadone and this and that. And I was like, I don't need it. I stopped.
That's so key what you've just said. I've seen it with the lives of men, and you go through it with your own life. But you've just said it right there. Like people say to you, "Do you have you ever wanted to go back to drugs? Would you go back to drugs?" But when you make that decision, go no, because if you don't want, if you really want to be broken free from it, if you really want to step away from it, then that's what you have to do if you really want it.
Yeah.
And I see so many. I see it all the time with a lot of guys that come through, and you see them struggle, and you say to them, if you wanted change,
You'll change.
you'd have to change. You'd do it, like if you wanted it.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a challenge to all of us still, because every guy at every age, you always have some kind of battle or struggle going on with your brain or with your mind, I should say. Thoughts and things like this. But you have to say to yourself, well, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Own it right now, because if you really wanted change, you'd make the change.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's one of the keys, or if not the very first key, I think men need to realise if they're struggling with something. If you wanted to change, you'd change.
Yeah. And you got to get to that point. So you got to get to that point where I really want to change. Yeah. And then, it's not always easy, but you got to keep on that path and go, no, I'm going to choose to live better. I'm going to choose to do this. I'm going to choose. And you just need people around you to help you do that and get people accountable. I've had mates go, look, I'm addicted to porn. I'm gonna put a thing on my phone and it's going to ping you. Can I give you permission to, if you get a ping from me, it means I've looked at something on my phone and you need to pull me up on it. So, that's giving them, they've gone, I need to be accountable. So there's things you can put in place, and just to go, I just need to be find someone who you can be accountable to. If you don't have anyone, and reach out to someone, get amongst, get along to a meet or Average Joe's or something like that, where you're going to chat to people and find someone that you can actually be accountable to. Yeah. He's going to tell you, you've been a dickhead, pull your head in. So
couldn't agree more, mate. And that's the key too. I think that's the second part of it, I believe. I think the first part is owning it and going, right, I need to make the change. But you've just hit the nail on the head, and this is what I see, and I say to a lot of guys again, so often I say to them, is that you see men make positive change. You see it, they experience it, but then they do nothing to safeguard them falling back to the lifestyle they had. So you see men go, oh, look, I'm going to, I'm quitting drinking, I'm quitting, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't even have to be an addiction, but they're deciding to make a change, but then they do nothing to safeguard themselves from falling back. They'll keep the same circle of friends, they'll stay in the same workplace, they'll stay in the same scenario, situation, whatever it is, thinking that just because they've decided they want change will automatically happen.
Yeah.
But they make no effort to safeguard themselves. You have to make safeguard. You've got to put protective barriers up around protecting yourself, because that's holding yourself accountable to you. Going back and going, no, I made a decision, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
But make the change to safeguard it so it doesn't. But I see it all the time with men.
Yeah.
All the time.
So true.
They'll keep the same circle of friends and think, even though the friends were their major influence, that they're going to see change. Okay, no, make the decision, but then make the change in safeguard yourself better.
No, it's so true. It's your circle of friends is key. If you don't have friends, you need to find a hobby where you can find friends. That was my biggest downfall, right in the middle of stuff. So
Finding healthy common interests.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's why, like, my wife is, she's close to the perfect wife, really. She's she goes, you need to ride bikes, you need to go forward ride. Men need to get out and do stuff. She read Wild at Heart when she was younger, and she said, she goes, you need to go do stuff. She can tell if I'm getting antsy. She goes, you need to go for a ride on your bike, just go camping, go out the farm, go do something with your mates. And she understands that time is key. So, but because you don't want to do that by yourself. So then you get mates, and then you get interest, and then you have common interest, and then you got conversations. So me and my mate Trevor, we have had many conversations at the farm around a bottle of Truth Serum, and they've been very healthy. So
the next morning you might not have been so healthy, but
that's it.
seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't
it's
have read
great.
the book, Wild at Heart. I think it's
It does sound familiar. I don't know if I've
John
read
Eldridge,
it.
is it?
Or,
Johnny Eldridge,
Or I've definitely heard about it anyway.
Yeah, he makes this statement in the book that every man needs a battle to fight, a woman to win. So there's three things. Every man needs.
I can't remember.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
And a podcast, I'm pretty sure they said.
Every man needs a podcast to listen to.
That's it.
This one.
And a Harley.
That's www.
So, Craig, I'll finish with this, right? And I'll put it to you guys there. Like, for the men out there that do feel defeated, or they feel like they're struggling and they need a win, what do you think the smallest win that they should look for to build that momentum to start with?
Just start. So the first win would be, like, I could say having a mental pattern interrupt, but that takes a lot of time to get that in place to not go and do that. Like your mate you're saying now with the porn, and he sends you a ping, and I could do that. I could do that with Wayne, but he's phoning ping all day, so it'll be wasting his time. So, I think, for example, like, if you go, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore, or I'm going to go out and have one beer on a Friday night with the boys at the pub. Lean into your group of mates and say, boys, like, this is really serious, and if you are my mates, I need you to hold me accountable. I don't want you to lead me down the garden path because you guys want to get on the piss and suppress your week or your life at home. Like, I'm looking for real friends here that will hold me to account. So once I've had that first round, and I'm happy to pay for the round, whatever it is, I'm on soda waters or I'm out, boys, because then I know by beer 2 or 3, the old reactive state of mind kicks in, and I'm away. We're 10 pints deep and it's fucking midnight, and now we're at the nightclubs and we're mungled all weekend. So I think setting that standard for yourself, and it's, mate, I've been there. It's easier said than done, right? Pulling away from what you do know. So the thing why people keep repeating history and being reactive is because they're guaranteed they know what's going to happen. Like, it's common and it's comfortable. Sometimes it's probably, if it's not comfortable, it's convenient. So to make that change, they probably feel scared. They know they want more, they know they want different, but they don't know how to change it. So by taking them small steps and leaning into your group, if they're good mates, they're good mates. I remember my father saying you count your mates on one hand. I didn't know that, because at school I had fucking 20, 30 mates. No, I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's it.
And even now, like, I'd say my hand's probably nearly full. accountability and mates tell you stuff that you don't want to hear too.
Oh yeah,
the whole
they're
kids
the
will
best ones. Yeah.
Like
Yeah, for sure.
you've talked this stuff over and over again, like you're talking shit now.
Yeah.
Like start.
Yeah.
I reckon that's the win
true.
right there. I think within your circle of mates, see, it's one thing, because I know we've talked about this before, it's one thing having a mate that's straight out honest with you, which is, you can appreciate that, because you appreciate it. A mate that's straight out, mate, going to tell you what it is, tell you how it is, like this, and you can appreciate that. But I think one of the biggest wins right from the start, that is if you make a decision to change and your friends know that decision or they see it, but then they support you in it, hold you accountable to it, I think that's a win. I think that's a win showing that you've got the right people around you to go, hey, mate, don't do that, because go back 2 weeks ago, you made a commitment that you weren't going to do that anymore. Going to hold you accountable to it, put it down, walk away.
Yeah.
That, I think, is one of the biggest wins men need to look for, is to go, oh, okay, you know what? I didn't like hearing that, but that right there is a win, because that shows I've got the right friends around.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That they're backing the decision I
For
made.
sure.
Yeah.
I had a packet of gummy bears a couple of weeks ago and tried.
Were they the marijuana ones?
No, brother, like how you were with Eckies, it's this dude here and Haribo gummy bears. Like they should sponsor this show, man, seriously. Like, as a matter of fact,
I'm pretty sure they do.
I was sitting right there. He was sitting there. This young gentleman was with his mum.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh God, Miguel, why'd you bring up the gummy bears? This sucks." Like he had bullets. He was sweating.
Yeah.
So he rings his
shake.
wife.
The bears.
Rings his wife, and he's like, "Oh, babe, can you quickly go down to, I think it was BP,
No, she was going down to BP already.
wherever it was, and
Whilst
grab,
you're there, babe. While you're there.
grab a couple of packets of gummy bears." She's like, "Babe, why?" He goes, "Oh, Miguel wants them. Miguel wants them." And then this young gentleman sends him a text. "It's all right, Dad. I got you, bro." And he got him 2 packets of gummy bears. So. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So thanks for the support, guys. That's supposed to be what I'm saying. I'm exposing you all. You're supposed to go, no, you're not getting gummy bears.
I think, like, for me, it's bettering yourself too. It's like, so what can you do to better yourself? So for me, it was like, I read a book when I was in jail called Finishing Strong. So no matter how you finish, how you start, it's how you finish, you know.
Yep.
And that was what it's all about. It was just give you permission to go, okay, I'm going to make mistakes, but it's how I finish. So I'm going to make sure I finish strong in life. And like, so when people go to, how can you just sell mobile phone shops in the Hunter Valley and just buy a cafe? You've never done a cafe before. I was like, well, Mark Boris, like I listen to his stuff because I think he just goes, just give it a crack. Give it a crack. He goes, I just love that saying, just give it a crack. It's obviously got to be calculated to buy a cafe that's got good parking, it's had good heritage, it's in a good area, it's not on the main strip because that's only tourists. You want the locals because that's going to keep you going. So you look through those things that are important. But if you buy well in those areas, then you're going to do well and just give it a crack. That's what Mark Boris says. And you follow processes. You go into a business with an exit strategy. And that's what Mark Boris says as well. You go in there going, what's the exit strategy? We're going to build it up, build processes, buy the $38,000 machine that's going to make the best coffee. Everything's going to be processed. And then the next person can just come in and buy it and make bank money. So
It's a running machine.
yeah, that's it. You know, I think but it's listening to people and going and taking the bits and pieces out of what they say, like podcasts like this, or Mark Boris, or reading things and training yourself up to be that next level in life.
Absolutely.
I think so. If you're without people being putting in your life, you're going to get stagnant and stale. So
As you grow too, like I can speak for this on my own journey. As I started growing and wanting to change, man, it felt so uneasy. And so uncertain. To a point there, I was like, am I going mad? Am I even worthy of having this greater life? You know?
Wow.
Should I go back to hell? I think I've explained this on the podcast before, the hell, purgatory, and heaven.
Yeah.
It was like, there was a pub I used to go down to, and because I didn't drink for nearly 12 months.
Yeah.
And I before that time, I'd grab a pint of beer and go down to this local pub in Darwin. And I look at all the people in the beer garden, man, and listen to all the bullshit. And I'm like, yep, I'm on the right path. Drink my beer, and I was gone. Like, So, and I'm saying that openly to the to the listeners out there in the audience, that if at times you feel lost and you haven't found your tribe, or you can't find your people, just dip your toe in your previous life. Now, I'm not saying go and take over drugs or do illegal or unlisted things, but just dip your toe back in there, grab that beer, and go and circle back with those people and see how their lives have changed in the last 6 months. And if you can see they're still there, you're on the right fucking path. Just keep going. You will find your people. And you found us. It's Average Joe's.
Somebody want to add anything, bud?
I was just mostly listening the whole time. It was,
So was
actually,
I, to be honest.
it was really interesting. I couldn't really think of anything else to add.
Yeah.
No, that story, that's insane. Like, I was speechless.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was actually good.
No, that's cool, man. Everyone's got a good story, though. I always tell people that everyone's got a story that someone wants to listen to, and you always got something that's good to say. You know, so everyone's been through something in their life, no matter how young you are. You've been through something that's going to impact someone else because someone else is going through that right now,
That's
and they want to know how you got through it. So, yeah, it's so important.
Well, guys, let's we'll wrap it up there, eh?
Yeah.
Really, really good. Thanks for joining us. So, guys, thanks for joining us here at the Men's Collective podcast. We are the Average Joes. Like we say every week, make sure you head along to your AJ's meet up this week. Jump on the website and check out where the venues are, the times. Miguel, Samuel, and Craig, thanks for joining us, lads.
All right, thanks for the invite.
Really, really
Mate,
good.
what a great way to finish the week.
Mate, really good.
Giddy up.
Excellent. Right, guys, enjoy.